you choose to kind of like rewire the way that you're going to look at things, which will in the end help you achieve those dopamine hits of, okay, well, I'm not going to, those dopamine hits, you know what I mean?
We're never going back to dopamine. It's like we tie everything back to the dopamine.
Because it all does tie back to the science. At the end of the day, we're talking about the brain, and it's, I mean, that's the core of it, right?
Oi! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to actually the first episode of a little show I am going to call Mindbooming. By now we have a name for this show, but while recording this, or while actually live streaming this episode of Mindbooming, we didn't have a name for it yet. We actually got to the name in the end. You can also see, like, I did choose to wear the same clothes as during the live stream, but this is recorded on another moment in time where I also went to the barber to get my haircut and everything. But yeah, by now we chose a name. It's Mindbooming, and this episode we are gonna talk to ReaskyBusiness. I'll put her Twitch link in the description down below in this YouTube video, so you guys can, look her up if you're interested. She's a wonderful person. She's super nice. I really had a great time talking to her. And yeah, this episode, we are talking about introverts versus extroverts. Quick disclaimer though, we are not professionals by any mean when it comes to the science behind it. The thing we do is simply do some research, and I am just a very big fan of anything mental health related and also coaching related. So I just did a lot of research on this subject because I just was interested in the subject. But we mostly exchange also our experiences. We chat and ask people there what they're thinking. We look at anonymous questions from chat regarding the issues they experience with either being an introvert or an extrovert, or maybe an omnivert or something in between things. We definitely did find out in this conversation that everyone is unique in their own way, and that's definitely something I want to give away already before the video starts. You should feel comfortable with who you are. It's okay. You know, if you're feeling a little bit different than, for example, what is commonly described as, well, the social style that you are, like extrovert or introvert, it's okay. We're all unique. I also have traits that do not fit being an extrovert, even though I probably fit within the label of being an extrovert. But that makes us amazing as human beings, and that makes us awesome as individuals. I'm not gonna dwell too much on this subject. It's very nice. Just enjoy, sit back, relax. Maybe put it on the background because it's a long one, and just relax and listen to what we have to say, and hopefully we can help you out. Next week, we will have another awesome episode 2, which will be with Whole Health Gabie about sleep. So this is definitely going to be a thing. I really enjoyed it, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this as well. So don't forget, if you do, to leave this video a like or a comment. If you have any further questions, I can always do a follow-up episode with Reasky. But if you have any questions or comments or anything, leave it down below. I will read every single one of them. And yeah, like I said, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this stuff. And let's just get into the episode. So enjoy, and possibly see you in the end of the episode again.
Hey, Little Nightmares. Love that game.
Go, 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 go!
Oh, that's scary. That part is no fun.
No, 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 no. Oh God!
So that's the person that we're gonna bring in. How about we hop on over, huh? There we go. Wait, let me unmute you. Nobody can hear you yet. Now everybody can hear you.
Hello.
Hello.
That clip is so... I'm so sorry for anyone's eardrums.
That was something. I knew exactly the part because I played it as well. And it's a super scary part.
It is a little bit of a spoiler, so sorry if you were planning on playing that ever.
Well, that's the risk of clips, I guess. Also, yeah. Tree, thank you for the follow. Hey, welcome in. How you doing today, Reasky?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Are you nervous? Because I am.
A little bit.
Just
I
to
think
try.
the
Oh,
extrovert in me is excited to have a conversation. The introvert in me is like, I don't want to say anything wrong.
yeah, because we already talked a little bit about that. So that's very interesting. You want to already spoil what you did to prepare for this stream?
I took a couple quizzes because I think a lot of people know right out the gate. They're like, oh, I'm extroverted or oh, I'm introverted. And I have always struggled going back and forth being like, well, sometimes I think I'm more extroverted. Sometimes I think I'm more introverted. I don't know. So I took a bunch of quizzes and I took 3 and all 3 of them said I was an ambivert. So I'm neither an extrovert nor an introvert.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the third option there. From the ABC, it's actually an ABCD. We found out it's like you have introverts, then you have extroverts, then you have ambiverts, which are like in the middle, and then you have omniverts. And an omnivert is another thing in this whole another label in this whole category, but it's an omnivert basically changes. So it's an omnivert is an extrovert once and then can be an introvert the other time or another day or whatever. Depends on the situation. But today, mostly we wanted to touch upon the raw material behind introverts and extroverts, which is basically it being a scale in a way where you can be an introvert, but you're always basically an X amount of percent. Oh shit, your cam disappeared. Oh no!
What?
Oh no! Oh, we're back.
Came to Zoom exactly to avoid this. Sorry.
No worries. It was very quickly fixed, so that's good. But like, you can be 20% introverted and 80% extroverted, or like that's how we're gonna tackle it mostly today. So we're gonna look at which part of being an introvert you have or an extrovert you have, and well, you're the perfect balance. You're the avatar of
right in the middle.
You're the avatar of this situation, I guess.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go.
Mastering all the different verts.
There's only 2 though. Well, I guess 3. Well, 2. Can I master omnivert if I'm ambivert? I don't know. I feel like omnivert and ambivert have to be opposites, right? Since they're grouped together, wouldn't you think? Because
wait, I just got. What did Syndra say about it? Omnivert changed depending on whether the last thing they ate was an introvert or an extrovert. I actually thought there was like a very serious explanation about what an omnivert was. An omnivert only eats eats both meat and plants, right? That's what an omnivert does, right?
What's the vegan version of a vert? Because that's me.
What's the thing again? It's a herbivert?
Herbivert. I'm an herbivert.
You're a herbivert.
We found the 5th one.
This is starting off great. I really think we're gonna get to some really interesting answers today. Okay, I'm moving over chat a little bit and grabbing my notes.
You said you haven't taken a quiz, right?
No.
Do you know, like in your heart of hearts, what you are, or are you gonna take a quiz today?
I know mostly what I am. But just watch, by the way. Just watch my chat. Someone's gonna say prep. Someone's gonna say prep Rowen for not taking a test. It's gonna happen. But no, I didn't, because the plan was there we go. There we go.
That's not true. You prepped for this.
Yeah, so the thing that I wanted to basically touch up on is I have written down a lot of questions that you can ask yourself, like that determine if you're an introvert or an extrovert. Like introverts tend to do this and extroverts tend to do this. So I wanted to tackle that and see where, in which like specific categories we would be an introvert or an extrovert. Okay. And just also debunk some myths, because I think there are a lot of things,
a lot of
myths put online, but stated as being facts, which I think is not it can't be true. And something as facts is a very sensitive topic in this case, I think, because it's so relative. Somebody can be a little bit more introverted or a little bit more extroverted than someone else, making it just a whole different situation for everybody, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting because I think we associate whether someone's an introvert or extrovert just like with their personality type, when there really is like a lot of science behind it. So it's not, a lot of it is facts, not just like, oh, this is my opinion on, you know, what you might be. It's like, no, your brain actually delivers a certain amount of dopamine, you know what I mean? So it's yeah.
It's super. You have a lot of things that are also like this whole plan. I didn't write down the name of the guy because I also found out that there are a couple of guys that like iterated on each other's theories. Somebody thought about like they thought of the term extroverts and introverts, and someone was like, "Ha, that's very good, but it's not specific enough," and I'm gonna make another theory. So I was like, "Fuck all the names. We're just gonna talk about it." But a lot of recently used methods in social styles also come from are inspired, take inspiration out of the theory behind introverts and extroverts. If you look at, I don't know how popular this is worldwide, but do you know disc analysis?
Disc analysis, like computer disc, or like
no, DISC.
Like your spine disc?
No, I think it's not that popular worldwide then, but it's
okay.
Disc
or
is
maybe
basically,
I'm just dumb. I don't know. That American education system, you know?
American education is fine. It's just not popular worldwide. It's clear. It's a personality test, yeah. So DISC is like a personality test that you see where you know about the colors, right? If you have a certain social style or a personality test, you take it and you get like a color, like, oh, you're more red. No, you're more green. And
we have, and I think this is a worldwide one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the Enneagram test.
Yes, I think that's the one.
That's similar. There's like numbers assigned to it. It's like a circle. I don't know.
Yes.
I haven't taken it.
No, you didn't have to take it, but they take a lot of inspiration out of. One of the things they take inspiration out of is introverts, the theory behind introverts and extroverts, because it's basically a more detailed version of that, I guess, because they take into account a couple of more factors. For example, the disc analysis takes more into account if people are. They use it a lot for work scenarios to look into the social styles of their employees. So basically, it's a scale with an X scale and a Y scale, and you can go like up and down and left and right, and then like left is that you're people oriented, and right is that you're result oriented, and upwards is that you are what was it again? Very social, and downwards is not very social, and then somewhere on the scale you are where you're like social but not very result driven, or you're not social but result driven, and
gotcha.
That's basically what they look at.
Yeah, I like that. It's more of a like you're either this or you're this. It's like you can be on either side, but also, you know, based on your personality in a different category of productiveness.
Yes, and it really helps managers as well to debunk to dissect situations. If there is a situation where they see like this colleague is not working well together with this colleague, well, that's because their social styles don't match, and this person is super social and the other one is not social, and that one is result driven and the other one is person driven. Of course they're gonna collide. Like, this is never gonna work together, and that's how they also learn about how to like fix those situations. Also, hi Sully, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. I'm sorry if I'm not responding to everyone immediately. I want to keep this conversation nice and flowing. So if it takes me like, say a couple of minutes to respond. I see where you came from.
Hi, Sully.
Welcome in, Sully. But if it takes a couple of minutes, then don't worry. I did not forget you. I did read your message and your notification, but I'll get back to you. We will also be, by the way, having some moments on stream where we will be talking to chat as well, of course. If they have any questions, we can talk about that. And I have my Telenym live, so if you want to submit a question anonymously, you can as well. If you do !Telenym in the chat, one of the mods can help you how to spell that. It's you can submit your questions there anonymously, so we don't know who's asking the questions if you don't feel comfortable by that or whatever. You have anything you want to kick it off with, or
I don't think so. I'm just here for the ride. I like the idea of you asking the questions of, are you this or that?
Yeah. Well, I think it's not gonna be that easy, and I obviously just wanna let the conversation flow. So, chances are, big warning, that we answer one question and we find it so interesting that in half an hour we already we went down the road of that question way too much. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know exactly what you mean. We'll try and cover as much as we can without going on too many tangents.
How did they talk about this question for half an hour? It's a yes or no question. It's that simple.
I feel like every time we've had a conversation, Rowen, it's always like, oh, I need to discuss this quick thing with you. Like when I did the commission with you, and we ended up talking for an hour and a half about other stuff. So
it was ridiculous
we'll
how long
it
took.
As concise as we can.
We talked about we started with okay, let's get some quick facts straight on what you want for the commission, and we ended up talking about, I think, our communities and friends that we met and everything, and it was this is far away from what we started talking about. Okay, so one thing that I have, which is pretty interesting to start out with, is some straight up facts about introverts versus extroverts. And with facts, I mean, this is basically what the professionals state as facts on the interwebs. But hey, everybody can call themselves a professional on the internet, so
Well, everything you read on the internet is true.
Yeah, most of this is also quoted, so this is literally what it says there. It's not my interpretation of it. It's just what it says. So one thing that it already says is this is just some basics about the subject. Introverts and extroverts are a balance. It's not often that the scale weighs completely to one side. We often have a big preference to one, but also have a small part of the other. An introvert is someone whose attention and interest is typically directed inwards towards their feelings and thoughts, whereas an extrovert's attention is focused more towards other people and the outside world. Extroverts' brains show more excitement when in touch with other humans as well. This doesn't mean that introverts aren't excited, but they are more consistent in their feelings. So there was a big study done where they analyzed brain activity between introvert and extroverts, and they saw that an extrovert, when shown a picture of other humans, has a lot more brain activity in a positive way than an introvert. And then they looked at an introvert, and it was not they got scared because of the human, or it dipped down or whatever, or they got sad. It just stayed neutral. It's they're always evenly excited. They can be just as excited about nature as being excited about talking to humans, or talking or seeing a very beautiful sculpture or a piece of art. They just stay way more balanced in their brain activity. So that was a very interesting fact that I didn't know at all.
The best thing that I read that kind of made the most sense in layman's terms was whether someone is an introvert or an extrovert is kind of based off of it's a dopamine reward system. So you have dopamine, right, that gets released, which makes you happy. And the reason someone is an extrovert is because, like you said, when it gets released in their brain from seeing things like seeing a picture of people or talking to people or getting a compliment, then that fires off. Whereas for introverts, it's more like seeing a piece of artwork, like you said, that's a reward for them. So it's really It's not so much like, oh, I like people, I don't like people. It's their brain literally says, oh, this makes us happy, or oh, this makes us happy. And that's what ends up leading to the two personality types.
Yeah, and a very fun thing there is, though, that a pattern does show there between extroverts and introverts. So obviously in these situations, they tested on people that are very much extroverted and very much introverted, because again, there's a very big balance, and there will definitely be, for example, if I were to, because you described yourself more as an introvert to me before you did those tests. So like, you would still have a lot of things that now I figured out that you're actually an ambivert probably, but you know, let's say you weren't, that there were still going to be topics where you were like, oh yeah, wait, I recognize myself in that. And I'm like, yeah, that's very typically extroverted. So for the sake of this experiment, they took very much extroverted and very much introverted people. And what they saw is that introverted people just need less to get that dopamine. Like that's a very big pattern they saw there, is that an extroverted person needs more exciting stuff to happen to release that dopamine, so they will also look for that. So they saw that a lot of extroverted people will say, you put a very introverted person and a very extroverted person on, this is just on the top of my mind because I just watched someone that was on a snow trip. But say you put someone on a snowy mountain and they're gonna go down skiing. The introverted person is most likely gonna be super happy about just following the path and going down slowly and just enjoying the ride. While the extroverted person is more likely to want to do jumps and tricks and take side roads and explore the whole mountain and then get that same amount of dopamine released, because they have like this, that they need to take it up a notch before they get that. So that's something that was very interesting to me as well, because I think normally it really looks like introverted people, like I feel, and maybe you guys think differently, but I feel introverted people are always one step behind in discussions, because people always think like, oh, you're introverted? Oh, that means you're quiet and that you don't want to be social. And I think that's very unfair, because if you look at the stats, it looks like extroverted people are just very needy.
Well, one thing that I find interesting is like, so I know we are going to talk about like myths later and misconceptions and stuff, but like you said, like a lot of people assume, oh, you're introverted, you know, you prefer to be quiet. Oh, you're extroverted, you prefer to like be the center of attention. But there, I don't know if you've heard these terms, but I feel like with our generation, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I'm an introverted extrovert, or oh, I'm an extroverted introvert. Have you ever heard that?
No.
No, you haven't? Okay.
No, but do tell.
So I think a lot of it comes down to like nature versus nurture. You've heard of that, like, right? Like how you're raised versus how you're born and the effect they have on a person.
Yeah.
So someone who has an extroverted brain, who, you know, it fires off when they get attention or something, but say they grew up in a household where they didn't necessarily like learn the social skills they needed to be extroverted. I don't think you know, being an extrovert comes naturally to everyone, especially if like you grew up in you're an only child, grew up in a quiet household, you know, homeschooled, like someone who was kind of raised to be more, you know, quieter and alone and stuff. So I've heard people say, oh, like I'm an introverted extrovert because I like that stuff, but I'm shy and I like don't know how to put myself out there, but when I do, I like it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know what you're getting at. It's basically like the way you get shaped colliding with the way you are born.
Now, I don't think extroverted introvert or introverted extrovert are scientific terms by any means. It's just something that I've heard in our generation talk about in conversation, because we, you know, you've had these conversations, oh, are you extroverted, are you introverted, and they're like, oh, well, like I think I'm this, but I, you know, have a hard time acting that way. So it's interesting how
it's super funny because we have a lot of terms, obviously, for everything. Also, by the way, hi, Fosnat, welcome in, buddy. And Jamal, hi. Yes, this is also stuff that we do on this channel. I know you've been through a roller coaster of different content here already, but, you know, I hope you're in for the ride. Welcome in. Either way, it's a pattern that I see a lot with our generation is, or well, maybe even with the newer generations that are even younger than we are, because we are roughly the same age, right?
I think so. I'm 27.
Yes, I am 25. Yeah. So we're roughly the same age. I see a lot of new youth. Oh, I feel so old by saying that. Tries to really, like, I come from an age personally where I am like, I don't want to put a label on things. And now I see a trend in the newer generations that want to label everything. Like, if you look at things like sexual preferences, if you look at things like, how you say it, like, your identity, what you identify as, if you look
pronouns,
at things, yeah, pronouns, for example, and everything wants, everybody wants a label for their version of their personality, I guess, of their preferences, maybe. And it's a very interesting pattern to see, because in my experience, it's still, in this case, in this specific case, it's still the matter of the scale. It's like you're this much introverted or this much extroverted. There's always a middle. There's always my chat luckily knows I am a little bit of a floaty hippie guy sometimes, but for me, it's sometimes it's a matter of the soul. You know, you feel you have one soul in your body, and that's the thing that you want to weigh on that scale of being introverted or extroverted, and to find happiness in that way. I think it's very important to find that inner voice, because if you're gonna say, hey, I am introverted, but I'm raised extroverted, then you're extroverted by influence. An influence makes you extroverted. So what are you then? Did you accept that influence, and did you embrace that and grow within it? And as soon as you realize that and accept that, I think you can make a decision on where you are on the scale, instead of having like two scales. It doesn't really match up in my head.
I did look up when I was researching some of the stuff. I did look up, can you change from an introvert to an extrovert? Like, is that even possible? Yeah. Because I personally feel like I was very shy as a kid, and now I'm not so much as an adult, and I'm like, oh, did I change? Like, was I introverted and now I'm extroverted? But that dopamine reward system, according to the internet, again, not a scientist here, not a doctor, according to the internet, that reward system doesn't really change. Just, you know, your brain is developing throughout those years, so the way you like react changes. So that goes back to what you were just saying about, like, you know, do you kind of take on the shape that you're given or being like put into?
Yeah.
But so, it's not really up to us whether or not that reward system actually fires differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, how it fires. It's just we can change the triggers of the reward system, but not the way it fires, is what you're saying, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then in that way, it would be more of like, just your preferences changes, but the system behind it stays introverted or extroverted more.
Right.
So in my head, I'm like, can we just debunk this whole thing completely down to how your dopamine... oh, there your cam goes.
Back. I'm sorry.
No worries. But can we dumb this down to it literally being, how does your dopamine work? Your like when does your dopamine fire in your body, and that just decides if you're introverted or extroverted. Done. End of discussion. And the rest is just how you deal with that.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's easy to make an assumption, but I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
Oh God. No, I know you're not a doctor. I'm just thinking out loud, like all these things. It's just,
So can you tell us what you are? You said you're pretty firm that you know.
Yeah, I'm pretty extroverted, but I did notice in the myths and the examples and the questions that I found that there are definitely some things where I am mostly introverted more. And what's up, Jamal? Are you okay? Are you fine? But we'll definitely find out more about that today. I think for me, it was the other way around. I think I got a little bit more, when it comes to characteristic styles, I got a little bit more introverted over the year than extroverted. I started out way more extroverted as a kid, and this is often in my head a big discussion because I want that kid back sometimes.
The kid that doesn't overthink what people are thinking.
The kid, exactly that. It's the kid that doesn't overthink everything. The kid that just says, fuck it, I'm gonna go talk to that person because that person sounds interesting and I want to be friends with that person, you know? The way as a kid you think, it was amazing. I was the person that, because also I was a only child until I was like 10. So that's pretty long, and until that point,
that's a lot of development for sure.
But you know, until that point, I was my parents brought me on vacations, and I had friends within a day. Like every time we went on a holiday, I like my mom dropped me off at like the center of the holiday place that we got, like the camping or the hotel or whatever, and like, oh, that's the place where the kids hang. You can go, you know, explore it if you want. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna. And then at the end of the evening, I would come back like, hey, look at my friends. These are my friends. I got to know some people. And my parents were like, oh yeah, what a surprise. You know, every time.
I'm wondering if you being an only child up until that point kind of like forced you to be that way, you know, because you were like, because I'm the opposite. I had an older sibling, so I had a built-in playmate. Like I didn't ever have to like look for anybody because there was already one there. And if anything, she was responsible for making sure we had enough fun. You know, it was like, hey, take care of your little sister, you know. So I'm wondering if you being an only child like helped with that. Or if that was strictly just your extroverted brain that was like, I'm gonna go make friends today.
Yeah, because it's very funny because like Romy says in chat right now, she has 3 siblings, and in her case, I think there's also a very fine balance between the introverted and extroverted parts. She definitely has some parts that are I think like obviously she has to tell it for herself how she experiences that, but where she is a little bit more introverted or a little bit more extroverted. So maybe in a way life always finds some kind of balance in that. So if you're like, obviously everything impacts it. So yes, maybe if because I was an only child for a very long time, maybe that impacted that. But I think everything impacts that. The fact that I went to a school where all the kids lived very close by to the school is a thing that impacted that probably. The fact that I got bullied when I was younger is something that impacted that. My first jobs, my first love, everything. I think everything in your life impacts the way you develop it.
But what we're saying here is against all of those outside factors, at the end of the day, your brain is still going to fire off the way it fires off, right?
Yes, and that's I mean, if I think about it, that is definitely a trend, a recurring trend I will see. The way the way my dopamine fires is still kind of the same. If something happens that I like, I think that's also why I'm more extroverted. When something happens that I like, I get way too excited. like wait, like every inch of dopamine in my body will be released, and I'm just going ham on it. And that's also why I learned so many stupid things in my life. Like, I find a Rubik's Cube and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking learn how to do a Rubik's Cube, how to solve it. And then like half an hour later, I know how to solve a Rubik's Cube, and my dopamine just, and I'm like, yeah, look at this.
And
I gotta go faster.
Mom, Dad, look what I can do.
And now I gotta do it faster, you know? And then at some point the dopamine kind of wears off, and then I completely lack interest. I'm like, oh yeah, now I learned it. Fine, bye, next thing, you know?
So, can we talk about, since you are extroverted, and I know you're saying you have more introvert qualities now as an adult, can we talk about the like myths of extroverts and like how you relate to them or don't relate to them, and like your opinions on them?
We can both see how we respond, how it applies to us. I have a couple. Most of them are basically explain both sides of the story. So both the extroverted part and the introverted part. So we can both easily reply to it, even because you're ambivert.
Yeah, I guess I am half extrovert, aren't I? So
yeah, you're like how you call it? Isn't that, is the name not wrong? Shouldn't it be like a demivert or something?
I don't know the Latin meaning of ambi.
Maybe someone in chat knows. Who knows? With autism, your dopamine works.
Zindran's got that big brain.
With autism, your dopamine works like crazy when you're passionate about something. So that's also super interesting because, if you have autism, the dopamine works completely different as well. So in that case, our theory wouldn't work. Because then if you have autism, you can't really conclude anymore if it's like, are you introverted or extroverted? Like, if you really want to base that around the dopamine.
Yeah, so I think when it comes into conversations like talking about autism, I mean, when you get into that kind of a thing, I mean, the brain is not functioning, I don't want to say normally, but like it's not functioning like the majority of people at that point. So it's almost like those types of conditions.
Let's call it different. Let's call it functions differently.
Yeah. I don't think that they will ever kind of fall into like the category of like, oh, can you qualify as this or this, because the brain is already functioning so differently. So it's almost like a variable, like an outlier that is such a specific case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. It's super interesting because I just wonder what kind of influence it has on somebody with autism. Like being an introvert or an extrovert, what kind of effect it has, what it does to someone with autism, if it like makes it even heavier, you know, the impact of the dopamine, or like if maybe being an introverted person with autism can also like reduce the dopamine of the autism, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And so autism specifically, and correct me if I'm wrong, again, not a doctor, not a professional, typically people with autism, their social understanding of social cues are kind of different. Like
the Oddfather says, his cables are wired differently, but they still have the same engine.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it. So,
yeah, exactly.
I think it would just depend on the person at that point, you know, and like because there's such a large spectrum of autism too, so it would depend where someone is on that as well.
Yeah, and to keep it then with the reference of the engine, it's just a different part of the engine also in fact affecting that engine. So the wires are affected by having the autism, for example, but maybe like the I have no idea how engines work exactly, but maybe like the introverted or an extroverted part of you is more like the bougies of the engine, So you
lost me.
It's the thing. It's the thing. I know words of things under the hood.
I don't know words of things under the hood.
Let's just assume that a part of the engine is the bougies. So,
okay.
And a part of the engine is the cables. So they both do things within the engine. But if your bougies are different than normally, or like they affect the engine differently, and if your cables are different, they affect the engine differently.
Yeah.
I think it's that more like that. Also, welcome in, DJ. How you doing, buddy? Welcome in. But very nice metaphor, Oddfather. Very nice to use that when we're also like in the whole mood of the race, the Formula 1 race today. Did you hear?
No, I heard you talking earlier about, did the Netherlands win the Formula 1 race or something?
We got our first world champion.
Congratulations.
Proud Dudgy.
Don't know I don't know how big of a deal that is, but congratulations.
I gotta be honest, I already told Chet as well. I am not by any means a Formula 1 watcher fan. I mean, I like that we have a world champion, but hey.
Put it on your resume, Netherlands.
Oh shit, wait. I'm not allowed to talk about it apparently, because I don't watch it, so now I'm not allowed to say anything.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Moving on.
Moving on, next subject. Mental health chat, this is really cool of you. No worries, CJ, no worries. It's all very for selfish reasons. It's just, yeah, like that's something I think about a lot. Like you can, we're gonna dwell very much on the subject now, but everything, and I talked to Wiggles about this, so I think I'm going to talk about this more if I ever get Wiggles on here. So very short. I think everything we do is selfish. Everything. It's just a matter of getting to the core more and more until you find out that it is selfish. Like you want to do something for charity, yes, because you want to do good, because you feel comfortable by doing good. So you do it to feel good. So you're doing it for selfish reasons.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I think it's important though to define selfishness there, also because even if you're thinking of yourself, I think the word selfish has a very negative connotation around it. But I see what you're saying, but like things like giving to charity or doing something for other people because like that's the right thing to do and it'll make you feel better about yourself. Yeah. But that doesn't mean the selfish in that aspect is a negative thing, right?
No.
You thinking of self.
Yes, but I think that's also another big thing, which we're not getting into that. But like the whether or not selfishness is bad or good, that's a whole other can of worms that we can
Here we go,
open.
going on our tangents. That's not why we're here today.
Watch us being an hour in and then haven't really talked about like our personal experiences about being an introvert or an extrovert yet. Okay,
so we were talking about you being extroverted, and we were going to go through the myths of extroverts and talk about them. You want to do that now?
Yes, I have some questions prepared and I have some myths / examples prepared. So we can do either of them. We can mix them up a little. I think we can also find a moment where we can look at telonym. I don't know if there are already any questions on telonym. Holy damn, Bomsky, you're fast.
Yeah, Bomsky and you was just in your brain in that moment.
Yeah, like I said it, and I just cannot believe that he heard me say it, because a second later, how short is your stream delay? That's impossible.
Just he knows you so well.
Wow. But we got tells already. So one from 40 minutes ago and one from 22 minutes ago. So we already got two stuff. We got two stuff. two things to talk about. So maybe we should do those first, because otherwise we're gonna have the risk of maybe that person not being in chat anymore.
Totally. Go for it.
So let's do those first, and then we're gonna talk about the myths and examples.
Okay.
First one, 40 minutes ago. If you're still here, this is your time to shine. I suffer from social anxiety to the point where I test people before actually opening up. I feel very introverted since certain people did stuff to me in the last few years that caused me to have trust issues with anyone I meet. How would you, from both points of view, work up to getting used to social contact again and maybe even trust people again?
I'll go first if you don't mind. There's a lot to answer there.
Yeah.
I also have social anxiety. I have general anxiety, which I'm in therapy for, and then I have like a whole nother layer of anxiety related to like phobias and stuff it's a whole nother can of worms. But I can definitely relate to wanting to be included, wanting to go to an event, wanting to have friends. I mean, I think it's just human nature to want to have relationships, right?
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of us have been through situations where people have done us wrong, or we're really in our heads about what people are going to think of us, you know. For me, the thing that gets me to those events, like I have an event later tonight. I've been thinking about it all day, all yesterday. And it's with friends, it's with people that I know. But I'm constantly thinking, like, what am I going to wear? Like, what's it going to be like when I get there? Like, you know, is the energy going to be good? Am I going to be awkward? Like, is anyone going to be in a bad mood? Which, like, is not a normal, I mean, it is normal, but it's so silly to me that I'm going to hang out with friends and I'm like, just the gears in my head are just turning, and in turn that makes me anxious and it makes my stomach upset, and I'm like, I'm just going to dinner with friends is all it is.
But it's interesting because you did for a second there hesitate and basically say that you think you are stupid for doing that, or that you're weird for doing that.
Society, at least in America, I don't know how it is around the world, but I know in our society you are rewarded for being extroverted. You're kind of the people who are louder, the cheerleaders, the business guys, those are the people that are seen as like popular and like the right way to be, if that makes sense. So having all these like fears and anxiety about stuff, like it again, where we are, it's kind of taught like, oh, well, that makes you insecure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it to me, this sounds like that road of thinking, basically, that effect of thinking could really be, I'm gonna very much over-exaggerate this because I don't know the right, more low-key term for this in English, but it's self-devastating,
self-destruction?
Self-destructing, yeah, because you have a way of thinking in your head where you think you have a way of thinking in your head where you think something would be cool and the other thing wouldn't be, and then you compare yourself to that ideology, basically, and you're like, I don't have that, so I am not matching my own expectations, basically.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
So that, in my opinion, is an introverted trait. That is where the introvert in me comes out. Not wanting to it's to the point, there have been times where I've bailed on events because I'm like, the idea of being around a group of people and like it's just too much for my mental health, it's too much for my anxiety, like I cannot handle it in this moment. But what the person who asked the question asked was like, how do you get yourself to still go do those things? A lot of me still going to the events and stuff has been geared by FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah, of course.
Extrovert in me says, I still want my friends to be my friends, and I still want them to love me, and I still want them to acknowledge me and be proud of me, because those are extrovert qualities, right? Like wanting to be recognized, wanting to be complimented. So my two sides kind of battle with each other. It's like, oh, I'm anxious, I don't want to go, but I do want to go because I don't want to not go.
I guess it's always an inner dialogue, right? With every situation, there are always that devil and angel on your shoulders battling out what would be the right solution. But what we often forget is that we also often fail to choose a side, and that dialogue or that battle between the two sides just rambles on and on and on and on, and it keeps going until you completely lose your mind because your brain is overloaded by all the things you're thinking, like, what if I do this, or what if I do this, but I should go because my friends will miss me and they're already texting me, and no, but they don't want me there because nobody texts me today what I will be wearing and how I am doing. No, but they do want me there because they invited me, right? And then that's, by the way, a nice look into my brain. That's how my brain works. I'm constantly in this battle with myself, trying to, because I've had a very big point in my life that I definitely didn't pass yet, where I'm not only a hypochondriac when it comes to my body. So for those who don't know what a hypochondriac is basically whenever I feel something weird, like for example, my heart's just skipping one beat, just for some reason, it can happen to anyone. My brain immediately goes, "You're having a heart attack. You're gonna die." That's basically what happens in my brain with everything I feel in my body. But it also happens with social things. So whenever someone, the previous company where I used to work on, we had a Friday drinks. We had Friday drinks. Yo, thanks, Nate.
Yeah,
thank you for the resub, buddy.
Nice
we had
shirt, Rowen.
Thanks, man. We had Friday drinks, and I would be sitting at my desk, and we had table foosball, and we had a game console standing somewhere. And around 5 o'clock, people would come over and go to someone in my team who they were very close with. And so like, "Yo, dude, let's go do a match of foosball, man. Let's go." And I always used to play a lot of foosball there too. I was pretty good, might I add. But the brain, like the devil inside of me immediately went, "They invited him, not you.
Yeah.
They don't want you there. Don't go there. Don't fucking invite yourself. You're not, don't be rude. Don't invite yourself. They don't want you there, otherwise they would have asked you." And then I'm sitting there for 45 minutes, still an hour, still just, fuck it, continuing work. I was already done at 5, but I'll just continue working because I don't want to go there because I feel like they didn't want me there. And then that part in my brain goes like, "Stay a little longer. Sit here. See how long it takes before someone comes and gets you. See how long it takes before someone actually is interested in you and is wondering how long it's going to take for you to come and play."
When in reality, because I know exactly where your brain is. Like I do the same exact thing. But when in reality, like if you were to get up from your desk and just join them, they probably wouldn't think anything of it. And you know that to be true, you know, we just get so in our heads sometimes, and it really like affects, you know, what we do on the outside, but also how we feel on the inside, just from those little thoughts that are like, nothing even happened. You're just the cogs are turning and you're going in circles in your own brain.
A philosopher/therapist I listened to a while back on this podcast, mental health podcast, I'm just addicted to, which I hate. I can't share it with anybody here because it's Dutch, so nobody will understand. But they said, they truly believe the only thing that separates our thoughts from, like our reality is our thoughts. And our reality is also what we experience. The only difference is that the things that we experience have a visual extra layer. They have extra dimensions, but it's both a reality that we create. So we create the reality of doing things, but we just as much create a reality by thinking about things. A reality that is, you know, the way we experience. You experience things as an individual because, you know, your truth is always different than mine. Your reality is different than mine. Yeah. And yes, it is influenced by facts and things that happen in the world, but it's also influenced by the way just how you interpret things. There was this man in like the big, I know, like I think like 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, something like that. There was this big racism discussion going on in the Netherlands as well, and there was this guy who's black who came forth and said. And you know, I'm gonna leave all the interpretations and discussions about this subject. I'm gonna leave that completely to the side because that's not what we're talking about. It's just purely the way he said it and why he said it. So not going into what it actually means and if he's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. He said, I don't understand why people think they are insulted if someone calls them the N-word. He says, I just, in my head, basically programmed myself to think of that word as a positive word. If someone calls me the N-word, that's who I am. That's just me. That's like calling out that I have blonde hair. That's like calling out that you're wearing a certain shirt. It's like, that's just me. I never felt offended by it. And like whether or not that is correct or incorrect, because I don't feel like this is the time, place, or context to talk about that. The theory behind that is very much true. Your thoughts influence the way you experience things, the way you think about things, the way you deal and react to things in every way possible. It's your thoughts, and people think it's like it's not the same. It is the same. It's all ties in together, I think.
Yeah. I think it is interesting, and again, we're not gonna dive into that subject because it's a whole nother, you know, you can talk about that for hours. But I think it is interesting to point out that that man did live in the Netherlands, you know, and it's a very different atmosphere than where I am here, you know.
Oh yeah, I know. Again, let's not open that can of worms.
But what you're saying is like your opinions on things or your thoughts on things, they do change your own reality, and I think some of that is internal and some of that is also external. So like, yes, that is him, but that's also where he lives too, impacting his reality. Does that make sense?
He did literally decide. He literally decided for him, I am going to change the outside influence for myself. I am going to change for myself how I deal and how I interpret the outside signals, the things that happen around him, because indeed, like maybe the situation here is different, but you know, chances are that he lived in an area where the situation was the same as, for example, in America or whatever. Like, of course, in the core, every situation is different. Every single situation, even within the same city, is different. But the truth of the matter is, he changed. He just literally changed his reality, also his outside reality, for himself.
So it is interesting that, you know, we're having this conversation about people can change their own reality based on their beliefs or based on their way they want to perceive the world. But that goes kind of back to what we were saying earlier about the extrovert introvert thing. We don't really have control over our brain firing off to certain things. So you can do everything you can. If you are a natural extrovert or you are a natural introvert, you can do everything you can to change your reality and change your dislikes and your likes and what makes you happy and what doesn't. But the science behind it and the way your brain is functioning, like you don't necessarily have control over that. So it's like this constant conflict between consciousness and unconsciousness.
Yeah, so basically if you look at that deal, what it looks like what he did is he changed his preference. He didn't change the way his dopamine reacts or whatever, but he changed the triggers. He just swapped it out. He said like, okay, this is not gonna trigger it. It's gonna be something else. I don't want this to impact me in that way. Or maybe he did, or trigger it differently. I think in the end, he still didn't. I think he still didn't change the dopamine trigger, but he did change.
I'm not sure you can.
No, yeah, like we said, it's probably science.
Yeah, science. We know. We're the experts.
Listen to us.
We're not the experts.
Please, if you have mental problems, search a professional. Not sponsored.
Hashtag not an ad.
This topic is, wait, let me see something in chat here. This topic is so interesting. For myself, I am introvert who has learned how to be an extrovert. But now we're going back to the introvert extroverted or the extroverted introvert. But about mind battle that you are talking now, in the past few months, I went through lessons about why I act how I act. I thought as about traps and we have in our lives that come from our pasts, and I understood that one of the traps that I have is an emotional deprivation, and that is messing my social interaction so much. I mean, yes, it's always nice, I think, to understand your brain better. It's always nice to learn more about your brain, learn more about how you work. That's also personally how my interest for NLP. I don't know if you know NLP.
What does it stand for?
Yo, Jim, how you doing, buddy? Welcome in. God damn, we gotta raid people. Just let everybody get in here. Get in here.
Hi, everybody.
What was that? Dude, Emma. What did you do? Welcome in, raiders. I'm here for the raid. Did you bring tea and crumpets? And was it crumpets that is so stereotypical? Was it biscuits?
Biscuits.
Did you bring?
I don't know.
Crumpets and tea. Cheerio. Sorry, Jim. Welcome in, welcome in, raiders. Thanks for joining. We for all the people who just came in. Let's be fair. You guys all know, but I gotta admit it. That way, that's Reasky. If you want to find out more about who Reasky is, ! Reasky. And then you know. And we are doing a mental health stream today. We're talking about introverts versus extroverts. And currently we are talking about some anonymous questions that people sent through our Jesus, Bomsky. Again! I think when you're on my stream. Oh shit. When you're on my stream, you need to do the dance. God damn it.
I did a little bit of a jig. Nothing crazy.
Thanks for all the new followers, by the way. Welcome in, everybody. I'm sorry if I can't really follow along with everything. This is also definitely a stream where I have a little bit less interaction with chat. I will definitely be trying to tackle questions that you guys ask about the subject that we're talking about. But I'm sorry if I'm interacting a little bit less. Thank you for all the new followers. Thank you for joining the Bomb Squad. Welcome in. I'm gonna quickly go through and hope that I get most of the new people. Helen Pixelin. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. My name is Dave, I guess. Welcome in. Travel Sick Race. Thank you. Welcome in. I think that was everyone already, right? Oh, that was easy. Whew. But yeah, we're talking about the anonymous questions, and in this one there was someone that asked us they suffer from social anxiety to the point where they test people before they actually open up to them, and they feel very introverted since certain people did stuff to them in the last few years that caused them to have trust issues with anyone they meet. And so they asked our experiences with that and how we tackle that, and then we dwelled on the subject as usual, and now we're completely somewhere else on the subject again.
Well, maybe this is a good time to get back on track.
Yeah, it's a good time to get back on. I already forgot where we ended.
So I don't think, did you talk about your answer to the question about the social anxiety and like your take on it?
No, I don't think so. So in my way, it kind of comes back to what we talked about earlier. Like, you are definitely born in a certain way, introverted or extroverted. And then influences come and you change. And in my regard, I am, well, I explained how my brain works. So with social interactions, I tend to always think I'm not good enough. Just the way like I do with everything, like streaming, making art, everything I do in my life. I always think it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. I should work on things. This is crap. And I always find something to criticize myself in. And I do the same with friendships. I always do the same with friendships. I just think I'm not a good friend enough. I should have done this or that or whatever. Or see, they don't invite me over and they invited that other person over who is in the same friend group. Why didn't they invite me? I'm also part of that group. What do they hate me? I think they hate me. You know, that's how my brain goes. And then we get to the part where we're at my preference. So what I consciously want to do when I meet people. And in that regard, I am naturally just a very big optimist. And that's how I want to live. I chose to be an optimist. I trained myself, my brain, and also through NLP. That's what I was saying, which stands for neuro-linguistic programming. It's basically the science and psychology behind the coding of your brain, how your brain, how you can reroute your brain and stuff. But I taught myself to be more optimistic and that kind of thing, that kind of way that if I meet someone, you start here. If I meet you, you're at a 10 for me, always. And I just, that's my motto when it comes to meeting new people, regardless of your I don't know, your nationality, your sexuality, your whatever it is, you will start at a 10 for me. And then it's all on you if you stay there. And so I think that's the other way around for me, basically, as the person that sent this message, because they said, like, because of their trust issues and the way they got hurt in the past, they basically, when they meet someone, that person starts at like a 5 or something, you know, like let's be very cautious and let's see if you can bump it up to like a 7 or 8. But you know, we're gonna have to have some good years of friendship before we can get you up to a 9.
I think that's a good way to like tie in everything we've talked about so far. So the person who asked the question might be more of an introvert, right? Like has a hard time trusting people, does, you know, has the social anxiety. But like you said, even though we said you can't change whether or not at the core you're an extrovert or introvert and what your brain wants, you can change your perception of your reality, like you had talked about, and also how you choose to play off of that. So like for you're a naturally extroverted person, but you were having all these thoughts and anxieties of, you know, what are they thinking, you know, and you choose to kind of like rewire the way that you're going to look at things, which will in the end help you achieve those dopamine hits of, okay, well, I'm not gonna those dopamine hits, you know what I mean?
We're going back to dopamine. It's like we tie everything back to the dopamine.
Because it all does tie back to the science. At the end of the day, we're talking about the brain, and it's, I mean, that's the core of it, right?
Yes.
Yes. So
Possibly.
yeah, I think anyone who's been to therapy knows that one of the main tools that your therapist will give you is how to process information differently. So when I went to therapy, and it was for, again, I have like really phobia based anxieties. My therapist helped me work on rewiring my brain in a way that's like, okay, so I'll just tell you what it is because it's easier to explain.
Is it a woman that can elongate her neck and go through vents?
No, it's not. I have emetophobia, which is a fear of vomiting. And it's like a pretty irrational fear. There's like not really a reason for it, But
Yeah.
I had, I've had panic attacks all the time because I was scared I was going to throw up. I was scared someone else around me was going to throw up. But so I've been to therapy for it for years. And the thing that she explained to me is that your brain is a computer, right? And
Yeah.
for some reason, when my brain thinks vomiting, something is firing off that's like, alert, alert, this is bad, this is scary, this is not good, this is dangerous, like we need to freak out, we need to get out. Yeah. And she was teaching me how to rewire that in a way where I can, think of vomiting, see vomiting, maybe myself, and it's not so much, it's not so much a scary thing as it is like, this is what it is and we're sitting with it. So it's kind of the same with social anxiety. Like you can understand that you're nervous and you can understand like the thoughts you're having, but you take the steps like you do, Rowen, that are like, I understand what I'm thinking and I understand why I'm feeling it, but I'm going to make the choice to sit with it and react differently than my body wants to, which is like to, kind of hide away. Like you just
it's what they always say, right? It's what they always say. Being aware of it is the first step.
Yeah.
It always is. It always is the first step to be aware of the thing that is happening. Being aware of the fact that you're only being aware of that alarm in your head is already a big step. The fact that you consciously know, hey, when I see something that has to do with vomiting, there's gonna go off a lot of alarms in my head, but those alarms are not specifically telling me that I'm in danger. It doesn't mean that there is danger. The fact that you consciously know that is already one. Oh, sorry, it was really stuck. It's already one very big step, I think, in the process of dealing with those things. Right? Yeah. Or did you not experience it that way?
No. I mean, it's. Oh, so sorry. It's definitely like. I mean, that's why I went to therapy, and that's what she taught me was, we're just gonna change the way you're looking at it, and eventually your brain will catch up. It has. It's gotten better over the years, using those tools. So it's the same with any kind of anxiety.
You can reroute your whole brain. That's at least that's what the people from the NLP believe in. You can reroute everything, and you're not gonna change the core like we said before. You're not gonna change the fact that your brain can react to certain things and have that dopamine rush, but you can change when that triggers and what that trigger is. So that alarm in your head is never gonna go away, but you can possibly in the future someday change what triggers that alarm. In that way.
Exactly.
Very good one. But in the end, I think we answered the question. Possibly. If not, if you're still in the chat right now and you're like, that didn't answer my question at all, then feel free to put another anonymous telenym text up there. Just say, hey, I am the person from the social anxiety question. Please elaborate. Say this or this or this or this or this. It's all possible. In my regard anyway, did we hear your approach? What happens to you if you meet someone new?
So because I'm ambivert, right? And I'm kind of in the middle of this introvert extrovert thing.
Let's just try to do it as you respond to that because you're Reasky, not because you're an ambivert. Just completely you.
Well, it really depends on the situation. So, online, say I meet someone new online, right? Easy. So easy. Excited. I want to know everything about you, right?
Yeah.
I'm in my place where I feel safe. I can have a conversation with you. I can be an open book. I can tell you everything you want to know. I can ask you all the questions. But say I'm in a grocery store and someone comes up to me and they're like, oh, hey, I noticed you're buying this. Like, do you like that brand? I immediately am like, please walk away from me. Like, I cannot have a conversation. I don't know you. Like, I'm just supposed to tell you about the brands I buy all of a sudden? Like, how am I supposed to do that? And I get all panicky and I answer, because I'm obviously not a rude person. So I'm like, oh yeah, I like this, blah, blah, blah. But it's a completely different reaction. So I think that's where the ambivert in me comes out, is depending on my circumstance. that's how I'm gonna
I think that's more of an
react.
omniverted kind of trait then, right? That
Yeah.
dependent on the situation, you respond extroverted or introvertedly.
Yeah, I didn't do a ton of research on it, and I also didn't get that as an answer to any of my quizzes, so I can't be like, oh yeah, for sure. But I understand what you're saying from what we heard of Omnivert and how it's you're either this or this depending on the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that does make more sense. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't know why. I'm just I know that I do have traits of both, so whether I'm amnivert or ambivert or omni.
But what do you
Herbivert.
think? Herbivert. What do you think? When that happens? So you get to this supermarket and you're standing there and someone asks, "Hey, which brand do you like?" What's like
What's in my brain?
Yeah, no. Aside from the fact that your cam is gone, by the way. Aside from the whole you panicking, like, oh, why are you asking me this? Are you like panicking because you just don't want them to talk to you because you are afraid you will, for example, say something stupid? Or is it more like, I'm not interested in talking? Or is it more like, I don't like you, I don't like you? Or
So I think, so say a total stranger comes up to me, doesn't matter what age, what gender, anything. I get this pull of half of me is like, I don't care what that person thinks of me, because the chances of me seeing them ever again are very unlikely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a more extrovert trait, is to have a carefree, like, I don't care, I could say anything right now and I don't care what I say, I'm just gonna say my opinion because your opinion on my opinion doesn't matter to me. But the introvert in me is like, I don't want to have that social interaction. I'm at the store, I want to do my own thing, I want to get my stuff done, and I want to get out, you know?
Yeah.
So I think,
what's the main emotion behind it? And feel free to make it like a sub emotion. Feel free to say something, because you like the main emotions, and then you have like categorized as like subcategories. You have things like I think scared or frightened, or
I think it's actually like a feeling of being out of control. Because again, I go to the store with my plan in mind. This is what I'm doing, this is what I need to get done. And when an external factor comes in and disrupts that, even if they're being nice, it doesn't matter what their intention is, I'm just like, this is not why I'm here. And I'm like I'm not in the mindset to like communicate with other humans right now, unless you're my cashier.
Like, if you look at the core of that, that's actually a pretty extroverted trait.
That's what I'm saying. I think
regarding
the
to, like,
comes out.
Yeah, when like when I look at the myths and examples, one of the things they say is, for example, introverted people can easily adapt to change and accept change, but extroverted people can't. So if you have a plan set in mind and something happens that throws off that plan, you're like, no, this is not what I was gonna do, you know? And that's actually a very extroverted thing.
Yeah.
According to the interwebs, that is.
Yeah. That's why I think it is a little bit of both for me. It's I'm not in control, and you know, like I also don't care what you think, like that. Those are both extrovert, but also I would like to be alone. I would like to not have social interaction, and it would make me happy to be productive and do what I need to do on my own without you interrupting me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it is true that I'm both.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they, you know.
Sorry, I was a little bit distracted. I saw Potty saying that she's now thinking that she's a broken extrovert. Why? Why do you think you're a broken extrovert? Also, I completely forgot. Like, I haven't had a lot of raids in the past couple of weeks, so I forgot to completely interact with that stuff. I'm very much sorry, Jim. You know I love you. Everybody, please go check out Jim English if you have the chance. He's a very awesome guy. I hang out there regularly. Well, regularly is relative, I guess. I'm not there every stream, but I'm there once in a while. He's a nice guy. He's fun. He's here. Another clip.
I'm fucking
Excuse me?
Me?
No, it was the clip. It was the clip. He got a shout out. It was the clip. I'm definitely gonna have to beep that out whenever I post this on YouTube. Holy damn. But Jim is awesome. Jim is an amazing guy. He charms everybody that comes in and subs to him with his little wink. It got me. Like, that wink just makes my but yes.
Okay.
It's a thing. But everybody who's still here, thank you for joining in. Welcome in. Please check out Jim. He's awesome. He's an amazing guy, and he actually is also very much into the thing that we are trying to do in this channel. So I always wanted to create this safe space where everybody can hang out and feel safe. And I heard that Jim, had the same goal in mind. So please go give him some love as well. He's an amazing guy, and he's very smart when it comes to those things as well. Can you see that I'm rusty?
You're good. You're good.
Do you notice a little bit of rust there when it comes to saying these things?
No, it's fine. I mean, I think it's part of streaming live, you know. And I think as long as you're communicating it and you're like, you know.
Yeah, I feel like I like immediately went on, and it was like, shit, wait, I didn't give him enough praise, because I am very thankful, you know, but that's also a thing how my brain works in those situations. When I'm like super focused on something, hey, we just talked about it. That's an extroverted thing. I don't like change, and my brain simply doesn't accept change all the time. So whenever I'm super focused on something and something else happens, it just bounces off, and it just like my brain's like, no, I'm not even gonna switch to that part of my brain to know how to deal with that, because I have like this little section in my brain where it's like, okay, whenever you get a raid, we're gonna do this, we're gonna thank the people, give them a shout out, interact a little bit, explain who you are. Like that's a little bit of like the how you act then. But that part of my brain is just completely not accessed when I'm in the middle of something.
Well, so going off of that, I actually have kind of a thought and a question. I had a conversation recently with a friend about streaming, and we had talked about, I think people who don't stream don't realize like how much is actually going on in your brain while you're just sitting there in front of the camera. Some people make it look really effortless, you know, they're just like having a conversation and wouldn't even think. But I mean, there's so much you're paying attention to. You're reading, you're thinking about what you're saying, you're making sure all your tech is working. You know, there's so many like little bits and bobs happening. So my question is, how do you think, and I know this was like originally what this conversation, like one of the things we want to talk about. How do you think different Twitch streamers, whether they're an introvert or an extrovert, affects how easy it is for them to be a good streamer? And I don't mean good streamer as in like successful, like, oh, look at the numbers. I just mean like how it comes across, like, or how much you're struggling or not struggling to sit there and be a streamer and be productive.
So like, yeah, like the core of it all, like the very, very basics of streaming, you mean? Yeah, I personally think that the very much the basics of it are for both fine, but I think if we're going off of the base theory behind extroverts and introverts, extroverts are going to have a little bit of a harder time when it comes to streaming, because they are looking for that dopamine hit, for that very specific dopamine hit, and they need that. They need that. For example, they are going to need things like raids more, I think. Like, they need that dopamine hit of someone coming in with, what was it, 43 people? Coming in like, whoa, yes, dopamine, let's go! While introverts can be like, it was fun. Like, it was just good. We had a raid. It was very nice that we had a raid. Yes, I know, it was very nice, but like, the whole stream was nice. You know, they I'm
totally on the same page as you, because I think people assume if you're extroverted, streaming's going to be way easier because you can just talk to a wall. But that's one of the myths of extroverts, is that they love to talk and they're so talkative and they could just blah, blah, blah. Sure, it might be easier for them to be in front of a camera and have focus on them and have people talking to them. But I think introverts or people who like lean that way probably actually fare a little bit easier as far as, you know, the toll that streaming takes on them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like you said,
you
were like, I got distracted and we were having this one conversation, like, did I show you enough love? Like, I want to make sure I show you enough love because like that's important to me. And like that is the extrovert in you popping out, you know, and in turn it's kind of making you like be in your own head when we're all just here chilling, you know, like none of us thought anything of it. So it's interesting how
it's you because you want that, and I think it also, as an extrovert, you tie different value to things like success, like the fact that you will be successful will give a lot more reward mentally to someone that's extroverted, because the increase in dopamine is probably greater, and they need, like we said before with the skiing example, they need bigger things to happen to fulfill that need. And I mean, this is a really real thing for me, and that's also why I used to hate Twitch for that, but at this point I love Twitch for that, like to my core. Twitch is one of the things that has confronted me with myself, I think probably the most in my whole life. Like maybe in the roughest way. Like people have confronted me with myself. True. People have given me a mirror and helped me to realize what my actions do or what my thoughts do. But Twitch is fucking merciless when it comes to that. When you live stream, you get confronted with it in everything you do, and you will slowly die until you figure out what it is that you're doing wrong in your head. Like, it's not like there is no theory behind streaming. It's like do this. There's not a one-on-one science with Twitch. It's not like do this and you will be successful. It's not like take the most successful game and stream that, and if you take this game and you will, no, of course it impacts it, but I really feel like it's at this point, like, the numbers have been different in my head, but at this point I think it's a 40-60. It's like it's 40% impacted by all the physical science you can do. You can like pick a game that's within like the boundaries of how big of a streamer you are. You can stream at the right time, have a schedule, be consistent, have a nice layout, yada yada yada. But then the other 60% is you needing to make sure that you got your shit straight in your head about who you are, who you want to be, and what gets you excited, especially when you're an extrovert. Because well, here is my story just about how my life got twisted upside down. If you know that reference, I love you.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like to take a moment to right there.
Yeah. Tell you how I became the Twitcher called Rowen Dekkers. But at some point, like I have to tell this for myself. I have to tell this because I wanted to make this an open space and everything needs to be on the table. So no secrets. A couple of months back, I looked at my Twitch analytics on Twitch Tracker, and I saw that for the first time since I started streaming, my stats were dipping. Like the monthly gross stats. I already at some point, obviously I disabled my viewer count. I disabled some things that can distract you from the main purpose in the stream. I already disabled those way earlier. And by the way, this is also the part where I stopped looking at my stream summaries. Okay. But I started feeling so bad that at some point, Romy actually got to me and she was like, at this point, I don't like you streaming anymore. because every time that you're done streaming, you're annoyed. Every time you go offline, you're irritated and you're grumpy because you look at your stream summary and you're like, fuck, it's not good enough. And that's exactly what Twitch shows you. As soon as you do something that's not true to your core, that's not true to your, yes, I'm gonna say soul again, it's true to your soul, Twitch is gonna confront you immediately, because people are gonna feel that. People are gonna feel that you're looking at the numbers. People are feeling that you are not doing exactly what's your passion anymore, and it's gonna immediately affect on everything that you're doing. And it took me months to I think 2 months to realize that. Then I stopped for a couple of weeks with streaming, and then I realized, fuck, like, what's my dream? What's my goal? And then obviously we started planning this whole thing. But I was so focused for a big part also on that dopamine hit. Like, how am I gonna get this? People are not rating me anymore. I'm getting less subs. I'm getting less followers. It's all going down, and then my brain starts just panicking, like, fuck, I'm not gonna get those dopamine hits anymore. Yeah. I don't want this to completely burn out, because I still love it, and that's the thing, right? I think a very common misconception also is when people focus on stats, it's because they just want to get famous. But that's not always what it is. It can also be that someone, in my case, for example, loves streaming so much that they just want this to be their career. They want to be able to do this every day because they love doing what they're doing. They love streaming and interacting with new people. And they would hate it for that possibility to be denied for them in the future. Mm-hmm. And people don't see that. What people see is you're not being real with yourself, and that's trying to get this back to the core. People see that's the slap in the face that Twitch is gonna get you. People are not gonna ask you, hey dude, you're watching the stats, let's talk about that, let's see how you feel, let's see what emotions get brought up with you and why do you feel this way. That's not what's gonna happen. No, Twitch is gonna just immediately reflect on you and show you your stats are gonna drop. People are gonna know that you're not sincere. You're gonna get less money. People are not gonna like you. And at some point, you're gonna get burned out yourself because everything is just becoming too much.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you're saying, like you said, at the core of things, you're an extrovert. So less engagement, less anything where your numbers aren't where you want them to be, that's depriving you of that firing in your brain that's like, yes, and so yeah, you leave and you feel defeated and you're like, what the heck, like there were so many times where this did bring me so much, like, yes, and then when that gets taken from you,
well, it doesn't get taken,
not taken, but the lack of it, or like you just want more, because it makes you happy. Like you said, this is what brings you joy and
it gives you little signs like, oh, you're getting closer to this becoming your thing, man. It's getting closer.
Yeah. So I think it is important, like you had talked about earlier, it's all about your perception, right? So you can't control that you're gonna, feel not as good after a not as good stream, right? But what you can do is, like you said, when you meet a new person, you start at a 10. Same thing. You start a new stream, start at a 10. It's all about your perception and how you go into things. So I think the big takeaway from this is, even though you are an extrovert at heart, like you control at the end of the day what has an effect on you and like how you continue. Because there's so many things with Twitch, especially going live. There's so many things that are out of our control, right? Time of day, the people, who else is streaming, what you're streaming. I mean, there's so much that we can't control. We just can't.
You can't. So, you can analyze obviously the more common trends, yada yada yada, but everything changes so fast, and it's your way. way better off just doing what feels right for you to do and what's just fun. And for me, at least, like one of the things that I noticed is, and that's maybe that's what I mean with the reflection, the hard confrontation with yourself. At some point, I realized what were the things that I could do where I didn't give a shit anymore. What were the things that I could do on stream where I was like, I don't give a shit that my stats were bad. I was literally thinking, like, if I have a quote unquote bad stream, when do I not give a shit? And then I found out, like, it's when I, for example, do these streams. It's when I used to play a certain game. For right now, it's League of Legends that we're doing on Fridays. But you know, sometimes it's something different. But it's like, don't look at like what's logical to do, but look at, for me, that is my trigger, and for someone else it's gonna be something else. Maybe for you it's like, I need to look at what drives me to push that live button. Maybe for someone else it is doing what is analytically best. Maybe for someone else, but it is, in the core, it's all about understanding what your trigger is and why you do things.
I would like to talk about my journey, if that's okay, and like what
go ahead,
my personality and everything. Okay, so I knew what Twitch was for a long time, but I never have signed on. I signed on once, like years ago, and then just never. Twitch was not my thing, right? And I worked in an office. I worked in a big high-rise in the city. Had a lot of coworkers. Nice, like, open floor plan. And so I was constantly surrounded by people, right?
Yeah.
Traffic on the way to work, tons of coworkers I'd see all day, come home. I would live in an apartment, neighbors everywhere, walk the dog, right? So when COVID hit, like everybody else, or the majority of people, my day-to-day completely 180'd. I went from being around people constantly to it was just me and my husband and nobody else.
Yeah.
And then there was a point where he went back to work. And I was working from home, and I was home all day by myself. I was in no traffic. I was not in the grocery store. I was not in the office. I was just answering emails. I wasn't even on the phone, really. Like, it was quiet. It was lonely. And it was at that point that I realized, oh, I'm more of a people person than I thought, because I'm in a very dark place without being able to talk to people all day. So at some point in 2020, things got super dark. My anxiety got really bad, because I started getting depressed, and it was just this like constant cycle of things are dark. And I'm tired all the time, but I'm waking up in the middle of the night with panic attacks. It was a hot mess. And then I started going to therapy, which helped a little bit, but then it kind of was like, what do I do to fix it, to make myself feel better? So then I found Twitch, and I started as a viewer, because I've always loved video games. And I was like, okay, I want to watch someone play Animal Crossing during the day when I have to work, because this is the game I would play after work, right? And I fell in love, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, there's this person in the world somewhere playing this game. I'm watching them, and there's all these other people in the chat that are conversing with them. They're conversing with me, and we're all just at our computers, and it's all like we're all coming together with a similar interest of liking Animal Crossing, and we're all having a good time. So my mood completely 180'd once I started getting involved in Twitch, before I started streaming too. They became my coworkers, my favorite streamers. Jim, who rated earlier, like, was someone who I'd hang out with during the day, and his community kind of became my community. They became my coworkers in a sense.
I think we all have that in a way, right? We all have that one special person that, got you maybe like a little bit in love with the way how Twitch works and communities work and stuff.
Well, and you and I met through Northy and
that's the one for me.
Hamish.
That's the Northy is the one for me, definitely.
Northy was still to this day, love her so much. And she's actually the reason I started streaming, because I was like, she's just, a lot of times she wouldn't even play a game. She would just sit there, and she was talking and having a great time, and everyone was being so kind to each other. And I was like, I want that. The extrovert me was like, I want that. I want those that makes me happy. Gimme. So I started streaming, and I just instantly fell in love with, like you said, just when you're a streamer and you have highs, they're high. You know, I mean, you leave feeling like, oh my gosh, like I'm physically sitting in a basement in a room by myself. There's no one around here, but all these people around the world just brought me so much happiness just from talking back to me, right? So I too have had those lows, like you're mentioning. When I first moved into this house, I had a couple weeks where I had to take a couple weeks off because me and Sean had COVID, and then we moved. So I took it was like 3 weeks off, which is the longest break I had taken. And then when I came back, things didn't feel the same. Chat was slower and viewer numbers were down, and those were things I hadn't normally focused on before.
Yeah.
But once
Twitch also doesn't like holidays. I noticed that too.
Yeah.
They don't like it. We got a lot of recommended people in the stream, we were a recommended stream, and then I took my 3 weeks off. I came back and 0 recommendations. Twitch was you're gone, right? You're gone.
The algorithm is not kind to the little people, us trying to grow, but I also had those moments of oh, it's me. I mean, surely it's me. Why wouldn't they? I'm streaming at the same time of day. My content hasn't really changed. I'm still playing the same games. It's me. They fell out of interest with me, and they, and then that's where all those thoughts come in, like you were mentioning.
Don't go down that road. Don't go down that road.
It sucks to question yourself in that way, especially when you've built in the opposite direction for so long,
And how can you expect other people to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself?
Right. So, I did similar to what you said, and I kind of looked internally, and I said I need to go back into the core of why I started this last year, because I just wanted to have a space to communicate with people. At this point, I don't care about growth. I don't care about whatever. I just want to go and have a good time. And when you go into it with that perception, you come out of it with that perception. Even if chat's a little bit slower, or your gameplay was terrible and you lost every game. If you go into it positively, the chances are you're going to come out positive too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that it's not gonna go away like this, obviously. I don't know if you have the same with that, but I mean, I still have that feeling sometimes. I still have that idea, I switched it up, right? I did it. I listened to my internal voice. I switched it up. I still don't see results. I'm doing the right thing, right?
We're human.
But then the thing that we learned, of course, from our breaks and our inner dialogues is to also say, be aware of that voice, and be no, that's your voice again. That's your thing. Just focus on something else. Focus on what you want to do. Don't focus on what's happening, and if it's happening correctly or not. Focus on what feels good for you right now. Just enjoy it, relax, and yes, maybe there's another 3 months that nobody's gonna subscribe, and that's nobody's gonna give you money or something like that, but who the fuck cares? To me, I'm just stating my inner monologue, and that way I'm why my brain just tells me Rowen, why the fuck are you worrying? You're not even getting the money. Because for me, still my whole thing is all the money that comes in goes directly back into the stream. So I don't personally use the money. Maybe I get a better chair at some point, and that's very convenient and stuff like that, but nothing gets to my pocket to just buy some food or whatever, except once when someone literally donated money because they wanted me to buy Romy sushi, but that's a different story. But you recognize those voices and you learn to change the perspective on it, I guess, as well.
Yeah. So I think it's a good way to summarize, we're two different personality types. You're extrovert, I'm ambivert, and we've still both had strengths and weaknesses with Twitch, and things that we talked about earlier, oh, extroverted, gonna be great at streaming. You can just sit and talk to a wall, which is not the case, you know?
No.
You definitely still, it's quite the opposite actually. So I like that we've like kind of seen from both of our points of view how our different personality types, at the end of the day, like we all still kind of go through the same struggles. It might just be on a different reason or at a different scale.
But in that regard, in all situations, we can safely say that Twitch is a beautiful medium to confront you with yourself and with what you want to do, and with how you stand on things. It's just it's a tough cookie. Twitch doesn't do like sugarcoating things. It's just like you immediately get the slap in the face.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful in a way.
Yeah, the platform can be tough, but I think it's the people that we meet here that make it worth it.
Yeah, and get you through it. Like holy damn. I was on the verge of quitting a couple of weeks ago, and the only reason I came back were the people that are in the chat right now. Maybe I'm forgetting some that aren't there right now, but like that is I'm not kidding. That's the only reason that I didn't. There is not a single other reason that I didn't quit, because I was seriously on the verge of doing that. I had that, and my backup plan was, let's try Dutch streaming. You know, let's give that a chance, see how that works, because I'm Dutch. That was.
I mean, for selfish reasons, don't do that, because then I can't. I need subtitles or something.
I would like basically completely start over if I would do that, but like that was both those options, quitting and doing Dutch, were both like completely thrown out of the window, because because of the people that are in chat, because the people that are there, and you meet so many wonderful people, and you know, the thought of this makes me a little bit emotional, but very sneakily, when you try to create a safe space for other people, you create a safe space for yourself too.
Absolutely.
You create a safe space to not per se, like I never really try to like ask someone like, please talk with me because I feel bad or whatever, but it is a safe space because you can always go live and, you know, feel good, have some people to talk to. You as a streamer, you know, that's the big benefit, I guess. The only thing you got to do is press live and you get people to talk.
Yeah.
You don't have to be lonely, you don't have to look for distraction. Just press live. You got distraction. Let's play a game. Let's do that.
Yeah. I think Twitch as a viewer is a great place for both extroverts and introverts. It's a great place for everybody. It's a great place for introverts because they don't have to go outside. They don't have to leave their safe space. They don't have to put in a lot of like external effort. They can stay in a creative space and just be by themselves while also still getting human interaction. And the extroverts also benefit like from what I dealt with, how like I was like, I need to talk to people. Like I'm so lonely, and I need that, you know, interaction, and it does the same thing. So I think for streamers it can make a big difference whether you're extroverted or introverted, but for viewers it's a great place to be for everybody.
Yeah, your story is perfect for that. I mean, for you, it was literally how it all started. You came in and you felt lonely, and you came in and you explored as a viewer actually how this all worked, and then you were like, I want this, and you became a streamer. So you were the perfect example of that theory, actually.
Yeah,
it's
and there's
very
nothing
nice.
more valuable than being in a streamer setting a safe place for everyone, like you're explaining. Like it's hard to explain to people that don't understand Twitch. Like I might not have understood it a couple years ago, but these relationships are real, and you know there are people on the other side of those usernames and behind the screens, and
heck,
as much as they can hurt, like on YouTube and stuff, in their comments, they can also, you know, help so much.
I mean, heck, I still had trouble understanding that until some point. I mean, obviously, you have a lot of value for the people that you see in your chat, but I, for example, I was not used to having online relationships, like friendships and stuff. No way. I only had real life friends. I thought I heard you say that before once too, in like a private chat we had.
No, this is all very new for me. I've never, like, I didn't even game online. All my gaming I did was all like single player stuff.
Well, not completely for me, but until a certain point, I had that thing that my mom always used to say, like, those are only just digital people. It's not, you know. I had the same. Like, I had people in chat, and I was like, yeah, I know you, and I'm happy that you're here. And at some point you slowly start to develop some feelings like, hey, someone's not there. I gave the perfect example a while, I think like a week or 2 weeks ago, which I had with someone in our chat. I think I'm just gonna leave the name out. People that were there know who it is. Who all of a sudden just stopped coming to my streams. And I felt so many emotions with that happening, because that person was always there and all of a sudden it was gone. I was like, huh? And it felt bad. I was a little bit worried, but at the other time I felt like I did something wrong. And that same theory of really developing friendships online is also something that helped me to get back, because like I said, not only did I come back because of my chat, but it's also a tool that I use to help me continue. Because I said, like, Rowen, don't focus on the stream, focus on just seeing your friends again. Yeah. Only focus on that. Focus on the fact that you can ask Shamu how his exams were. Focus on the fact that you can play League with Mr. Pliskins again. And that you can ask Bitsy about how she cooked her cookies and what her latest bake experiment was. Focus on that. Do that. And nothing else. Just focus on nothing else than that. And as soon as I did that, by the way, it's like streams became so much fun. And I had moments where I closed off my stream, and we always, like, because I stream in the evenings, when I close off, Romy and I go walk Buddy, and we talk about that. And it was a complete 180 in that regard as well, because she was like, how did the stream go? And I was like, statistically it was bad, but I don't give a shit. It was a very fun stream. You know, it was completely 180 with like a month before where I was like, yeah, it was fun, but it sucked. It was a bad stream.
Yeah. It's the best walking away from it and being like, I had a good time, you know?
You need to stretch, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
That's important.
Can I crack?
For me, it's okay. Just close to the mic. It needs to be ASMR approved.
Do you want it close to the mic or away from the
mic? Do it close. We like it.
Okay, ready? Oh gosh, and the vacuum's going above me right now. I'm so sorry. Okay, ready?
Oh,
you hear it?
Yeah, I heard it.
Oh, that second one was intense.
Did you feel it like shock? Have like little, little.
It kind of feels like a release almost. I have to, like I'm sitting here like a gremlin. I really should be like.
Imagine actually sitting there as a gremlin. Like, that's the way people do. Everybody thinks that like talk shows and podcasts are doing, people do that normally. But the key to a good podcast is just sitting like this. Just sitting like this when you're doing a podcast. That's exactly how it's done.
Well, it doesn't help that my dog is at my knees right now, and I'm just like giving him scratches, which is making me like hunch my shoulders over.
Who's it? Who is it?
What? Yoshi.
Yoshi. Good old Yoshi.
Anyway, did we read the second telenym?
No. I think it's time for another telenym. Also, Yo Devilishal, welcome in. Did I miss anything in chat? Important stuff. ReaskyBusiness. Oh yeah, I saw a message from Zindran before, which is very fun to just point it out. Lizzie, aka for the people that don't know, Northy, says both of our messages about her like 15 minutes ago was very sweet. She saved it on her phone because she didn't want to lose it. Someone may have clipped it. Oh, that's adorable.
I love that.
Sometimes I feel like even though I think Liz is like the youngest one of us three, but she feels like a mother to me, you know.
Yeah, like a
She's like, yeah,
more like a big sister or mentor, but I know that she's younger.
Yeah, exactly, like that.
She's wise beyond her years.
Yeah. Yes. Let's say that. Let's just stop
don't
there.
clip that one.
Let's say that. Let's just we'll stop it at that. Time for telling him. Exactly, Sinjin. We're gonna take that. I mean, that's also how they got to raid me at some point, right? That was also all you. Okay, the next one was well, by now it's probably already way longer ago, now 22 minutes. But fun fact, we have been talking for 1.5 hours, roughly, already. Time flies. Like, I am not aware of the time right now. I really thought we were only talking for half an hour or something. What advice would you give to an introvert that wants to interact with other people or groups, but doesn't know how to approach and talk to them?
That's kind of a similar question to the first one, but it's more about groups versus trusting individuals. Right?
I need to think about that. I think so.
I kind of touched on this a little bit before, and I'm not like full introvert, so I guess I don't know if I have the answers, but for me,
you're not allowed to talk about this.
For me, it's I think about the pros and cons, right? And even though I want to stay home and I don't want to go and I don't want to be surrounded by people, the idea of missing out on those memories, on those relationships, outweigh it for me, and so I go despite how I'm feeling, because I know I'll be more sad later on if I'm like, did they have a good time and I wasn't there and I missed out on all these inside jokes and these memories that they all made and I wasn't there and I should have been. That's the motivation for me.
Yeah.
Which is selfish.
It's we talked about it. It's everything's selfish. Yeah. But for me personally, my advice, because you're asking specifically for advice, I think my advice would be to look inwards. That's everything. That's it. I can elaborate, but like that's basically it. Just look inwards. Ask yourself, what is the thing you want? And that's all that matters in that situation. How would you like to approach someone? How would you like a situation to go from your side? Because in the end, obviously, you can only influence the things that you do. You cannot, you can decide things for yourself, but you cannot decide for someone else to do something. So within your own power, obviously, you cannot say like, people should just walk up to me and that's how I get to know people. Now, think to yourself, what's your preference in how you would approach someone? Would it be through text? Would it be through Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, real life, isolating someone from a group? Or maybe it's easier for you to do it in a group, because then like the attention is also somewhere else, you know, and you can like do it a little bit on the background because everybody's talking here, and you can just easily like talk to someone that's out there without like taking over the whole group, you know. But it's easier to do it not at all.
Kayla, that's interesting, because what I was saying earlier about society does kind of like lean towards like, oh, being extroverted is kind of like the better way to be, but there's also really nothing wrong with only having one or two really close relationships and then spending a lot of time on your own if that's what you want to do. Yeah. If it's like physically painful to go out in those groups and do those things, you don't have to do it.
No, but that's the whole thing of looking inwards, right? Look at your own preferences. And in my experience with you, Caitlin, because you've been in this channel for a long time already, as well, of course, is that I feel like this is for you a comfortable way of doing things. Finding a nice community that fits you, and then slowly mingling in. Maybe go into a voice chat or a shared games now and then. Talk to someone. Talk to the streamer. Maybe you like it, like how that social flow goes. But that's apparently your preference, and that's totally fine. And that's what I mean with looking inwards. Just find your way. Find what feels nice for you. Don't force it, and you know, keep it to yourself. And be maybe also a thing is where people have a hard time is you need to how do I say this in English? You need to think that you deserve it. You need to think that you deserve to do it your way. Because a lot of people also think that they have to do it in a way.
Yeah.
They think that they have to mingle in with real life groups, or that they have to talk to people there and just throw all their secrets out there. But the truth of the matter is, you deserve to explore your own preferences, and if you want to do it online, you do it online. And I don't think it's cool to be an extrovert or whatever. I think both have ups and downs. Maybe introverts have some hard times there. One thing I have as an extrovert really struggled with is that people always thought exactly actually what we talked about before, that extroverts have it easy when it comes to social things, because you're judged on that. It's like, nah, you're an extrovert, you got it easy. Fuck you, I don't like you. You're cocky. No, I'm not cocky. And people don't even. I have met people that don't even take the time to investigate what's behind everything. They don't take. I have had people who were like, on my when I still studied in my 3rd or 4th year, who called me out and said, "It's always so fucking easy for you. Try being in my shoes. I have it so hard, and I for you everything just comes around, and you just get it for nothing. You don't have to do anything for it except for smile, look pretty, and just talk." And I was like,
not true at all.
and I was like, really? That's how it goes? Okay. And then I explained to them what I did, you know. I explained how I work day and night on some things, and how many curriculum activities I did outside of my school, how I did extra coaching training, how I did presentation training, how I was in like the student council and did a lot of stuff there, and how I tried to make being an extrovert a tool for my success. And introverts can do that too. They have they have just a different toolbox. Yes. Extroverts have a toolbox which is very screamish. Yes, it's very like, bam, this is our toolbox. It comes out of our mouth with a lot of loud noises. But introverts have a very, very awesome toolbox at their disposal to use as well, that extroverts want to dream of now and then. And the only thing I did back then is just utilize my toolbox and try to network with people, get to know people, because that's what extroverts are good at, and use that to your advantage. But introverts can do that just as much.
Yeah, when I was doing my research, a lot that came up was careers that are good for extroverts versus introverts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, leadership positions, anything that deals with a lot of people. Like, extroverts are gonna thrive and introverts are gonna have a hard. That doesn't mean introverts can't do those jobs. They're not gonna, like you said, have that skill set that the extroverts already have programmed into them that are gonna make them successful at that job, and vice versa. You know, there are a lot of jobs that require you to work alone and you know, set your own schedule and spend lots of time, you know, maybe in front of a computer by yourself, and the extroverts would pull their hair out. They'd be like, I can't be alone. So yeah, it's interesting how it can, you know, your personality type can hinder you in some ways, but it can also really benefit you in other ways.
Yeah, it's a toolbox, and you gotta know what's in that toolbox and what's not in that toolbox. And you know, you gotta, same as when you're actually working with an actual literal toolbox. If you have a toolbox for fixing a car, you shouldn't be looking for divorce papers or something. You know, if you're like like a lawyer or whatever, you know, that's stupid. That's like, you're gonna have so much trouble, dude. You're a car mechanic. Don't go looking for those papers. You have wrenches and stuff. Don't do that. Don't focus on that. You know, and unfortunately in life we do not always choose our toolbox. We get one handed. But I think that's also a very nice life lesson to learn to accept things. But I have a very nice message in chat that I also want to read out real quick. It's from Chantal, who's from Jim's community, I believe, as well. I thought I saw her come in earlier, and I think I also recognized her from Jim's stream.
I know Chantal well. She's amazing.
Yeah, I thought as much. I recognized the name. But she said, when I first started on Twitch, I was so shy, but then gradually started chatting more, and then I DM with people, then I would join in with community games, and then now I'll happily join voice calls, but I could not have gone straight to VC. It takes a while for me to warm up. Like, that's amazing, right? But that's your way. That's the way. It's the way for you. You know? And that's, everybody has their own path, and learning to know that path and to utilize that path is an amazing journey that we should all accept. And not, I've always been against the stigmatization of you having to be a certain way. As a man, you have to be like this, because and as a woman, you have to be like this, and as a you know, in every single situation, it's just, I hate it. Just listen to yourself, because we're all such beautiful, unique human beings. It's so sad that we restrict ourselves to something as simple as that. And that's also why I don't like the thing we talked about at the beginning, the giving labels to things, saying like, no, I'm an omnivert, no, I'm an ambivert, no, I'm an extrovert, no, I'm an no. And this sounds like a hippie, but you're just you.
Yeah.
I seriously, that's something I'm consciously busy with in my life. I try to not give myself any title. If somebody asks me like what kind of social style I have, I describe it. I describe what my preference is. I don't say I'm an extrovert. I just say I like to talk to a lot of people. You know, that's...
Which is funny that we decided to do a whole topic on like, let's discuss these two labels.
Yes, and that's why I wanted to keep it to the two, actually, in a way, because I was like, there's... as long as you keep it in a way small, there can be a very big spectrum within, instead of it being like... people think it gives you more choices, but in my experience, it gives you less choices if you have more labels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because now we can just say, no, there's introverted and extroverted, and you can be somewhere in between. You can be somewhere in there. And if you have 200 different titles for like, if you're a little bit introverted, but you also have a lot of extrovert, but if you have half, and then you have like a quarter, 3/4, you're gonna restrict people more, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. I agree.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Should we do the last telonym that's currently submitted, and then go on to the things that I wrote down?
Sure.
Oh shit, another one got added. Okay, well, 2, but we'll do these a little bit quicker. Maybe. I'm not gonna promise anything, by the way. No.
No problem.
We're gonna fail horribly anyway. We're gonna dwell on the subject anyway. But let me do it like this. We'll do one more, and then I want a very quick pee and drink refill break.
Okay.
Because my bottle is dry.
Okay.
Talking dries out your mouth and stuff. Okay, so if the common conception about extroverts getting more emotional stimuli from other people is true, do you think that extroverts are more prone to be taken advantage of? No.
I think it depends
Next
on
question.
The situation. You just say no because you're an extrovert.
No. The reason why I say no is because I think those are two different things. being taken advantage of and emotional stimuli, and it all ties in together. I get it, but it's also very separate, because it's not like as an extrovert you get emotionally attached to people. That's not specifically something an extrovert does. It's not like I'm extroverted so I get to attach to everyone I meet. No, I just like to talk. I get happy when I talk to people, and I can also do that without emotional attachment. And I think there can also easily be introverts that are very quickly emotionally attached to someone that they meet. Maybe in some cases even more so, because for some people it's harder. For some introverts it might be harder to make like social connections. So when they do, they have immediately a lot of value to it. But that's why I'm saying, like, I think it's very separate. I think there can be a lot of extroverted people that quickly are emotionally attached, but also a lot of introverted people that have that.
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. It depends on the situation. Also, when we're talking about what qualifies someone as introvert or extrovert, going back to that science, it's all what is positive to that person, not necessarily, like, it doesn't have to do with like what makes you sad. It's all about what makes you excited, right? So someone being taken advantage of, or that just has to do with personality, not necessarily, because it's not about what's negative, it's about what's positive for that person. It's not like a two-way street, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I would say no, it doesn't make someone more susceptible to being taken advantage of. The only thing that I think would support that claim would be maybe extroverts put themselves in a situation where they're like, because they're more social, they just happen to put themselves in a situation where they're around people more, and like just a numbers game. Like you meet 10 people, you're more likely to meet a shitty one than if you meet one person,
Yeah, but in the end, if we all find our way of finding people, like we said before, then in the end, an introvert can just as much meet as many people as an extrovert, because it's a matter of finding the way that feels comfortable for you. What we did figure out, obviously, indeed, and that's also what is stated here, is they're talking about that experiment where extroverts see the picture of a human and have more dopamine response and stuff. Extroverts might be more motivated, indeed, a little bit more motivated to go and make connections with people. Hence, it creates a bigger risk because the numbers are increased, indeed, like you said before.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it could be, but I think the main advice I would definitely still give in any situation, if it's true or not, is please don't stick to it too much. Don't put too much value on the answer to this question. Like, in the end, it's still important that you just listen to yourself and don't listen to that label. And that's also coming back to what you now just said, Bunny. I feel like Bunny said, I feel like the reason for why the younger generation likes labels so much is feeling safer in a super specific group of people and not having to fear explaining why they are the way they are. For that exact reason, I don't like labels, because I think it's gonna divide people only more and more and more and more, and also gonna bring even more judgment with it.
Yeah,
like
it's kind of a catch-22. It's like by trying to be more inclusive, you end up dividing people more.
Yes, yeah, it's such a double-edged sword in my opinion. Because you try to fight the problem, but in doing so, the result of that solution is making it a little bit harder in the future, in my opinion. The thing I've seen happening is one thing that I've seen happen in the past couple of years is that people that are quote unquote normal are always evil. The more normal you are, the more evil you are, is something that I've noticed in the past couple of years. So the people that have the least amount of labels are the people...
maybe not the people who are normal, but the people who put emphasis on wanting to be normal. You know what I mean?
You know,
people who are like, this is the way that like people should be. Like those people are the ones that are kind of
normal is indeed a perception always.
Yeah.
I 100% agree to that. I just think that my opinion on all of these situations in every way or form, every discussion I've ever had about inclusiveness, exclusiveness, groups, labels, everything comes down to the fact that I personally feel that the only way to fix it is fix discrimination based on which label you have, where you belong, how you look, what kind of person you are, is by completely getting rid of it. Everything in there. Just everyone is themselves. You get your own group, and that group has a limit of one person only. That's
just about teaching people to be just kinder to other people.
Yeah, but because every group that you're gonna make is gonna bring, just like good is gonna bring bad, and bad is gonna bring good. A group inclusiveness is gonna bring exclusiveness. Mm-hmm. So that's always gonna be there if you're gonna go that road.
I think it is important though to note that like I think a lot of the people, especially younger generation, who are putting such an emphasis on labels, they have good intentions behind it, you know.
Oh, I don't question that. I think.
So it's hard to be like, this isn't, you know, because they're like just doing what they think is right, you know.
Exactly. Have you ever read the book? How is that book called? Everybody's Born Good.
Mm-mm.
Well, that's the same thing as with every discussion that I personally want to, like, one of the things that is basically tackled in there, what I love to have in the back of my mind when I enter a discussion with anybody, and also why how I personally think that it's the only way to make this community a safe place, is to realize that you're not special and you're born the same way as someone else is born, and that and don't be a smartass in the comments or in the chat right now and say like, yeah, but I got through, like they cut me out and I just really got a natural birth, and oh yeah, I get it, there are different ways to be born, yada yada. But what I mean is you can't expect someone else to make a decision because it's the wrong decision. No, they have a reality. They are also smart people. Everybody's smart. Like, if you do something and I think it's stupid, it's not like you are a stupid person. How much of a god complex do I have to think that the way I think is the right way? And why do I have the right to say like, yes, but 200 other people think the same way that I do, it must have been right, and I read this science experiment and that proves that this is right. Dude, the other person isn't stupid. The other person, for example, you also had 27 years to do research on Google on certain subjects, to learn on school and in school, to learn through social interaction. How stupid is it that I would expect you to not put in any efforts in how you make up your decisions and your opinion? Well,
what's tough is I think a lot of that attitude of like, oh, this is what's right, this is what's normal, this, my opinion is, you know, what I think, you're dumb, I'm smart. A lot of that is taught. So that's not stuff that I think we as humans have naturally. It's like, we have parents that teach us like, these are the rules, you know, we have schools that teach us this is what's right, this is what's wrong. So I think a lot of it like is that, you know, when our brain is developing, that stuff that's like kind of ingrained into us, and there's not a lot we can do about that point, you know.
Well, we can. It's hard, but we can also reroute that part of our brain in a way, I think. But it's just fun how much we are. One of the biggest ironies probably I've ever seen, or hypocrisies, I think I can't even call it, is the amount of times that people say I think everybody should be allowed to be themselves. But actually, there is a little subtitle there in their actions, and I'm not gonna name any names. I don't even think I have anyone in chat or present here that does that a lot. But they always have like a little subtitle there, like that actually says, unless I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's always like everybody should be themselves, unless I don't agree. Like it's so many people, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not how it works. And one of the biggest eye openers I had is when my dad, I was telling him like, Dad, I am trying to teach people that how to accept one another. I'm trying to teach these people that you should accept it if someone doesn't agree to you. And I get these people who tell me like, no, they should be like this, they should be like this, blah, 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 blah. So he doesn't, like that person doesn't agree with me that people should be themselves. And my dad looked me straight in the face and he was like, yes, and if you truly believe in what you just said, you will accept him for not accepting that.
True.
And I was like, fuck, you're right. Ah,
Big brain,
shit.
Dad.
Shit. Why is my dad a psychologist? Fuck. It was such an eye-opener. I was like, yes, wait, I gotta accept those people too. If I really think that everybody has to be themselves, I should accept it if people think that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it's like judging people for judging others.
Yeah. Like, I'm a hypocrite if I don't.
Dad 1, Rowen 0. Okay.
Yeah, like...
Did you want to take a quick break?
Yes, I think this is a very good natural moment to take like a couple of minutes break. And then we'll get to the last telonym, and then we'll get to the facts, because this is we're slowly. I was like, we're nowhere near the end of the stream, but it's slowly getting later, so you know. Hold on tight, people. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Oh wait, we have a new viewer. I'm curious, what do you guys think of my above opinion? Your above opinion? Which opinion?
Curiosity killed the cat.
I have no idea. Holy shit. Now I just can't take a break until I know what the hell you're talking about. But you know guys, just keep on chatting. Just talk, and you know, if you have any questions, I'll read it when we'll read it when we're back. First time chat. My above opinion. Yes, I had the same thing, Zindred. I was so confused. First time chatter. But yeah, be right back. 5 minutes tops. Wait, let me go back. What did I miss? Bit blurry. No, that's my like my software that blurs my background and stuff. So it's weird. Neru, did you? Oh God, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Give it a sec.
Finally I can squeeze in a joke. My boss said I was fired. Why? I asked. He said, you always question my authority. I said, how?
Very funny. Very funny, man. But hey, by the way, Neru, did you actually say what you were talking about? No, right? Oh yeah, stretch and hydrate. Good ones, good ones. I'll send it after you come back. Oh, you okay. Now is your time. Now is your time to shine, Neru.
We're ready, Neru. Give us all you got.
Not Rowen forcing a woman to do what he wants in 2021. God damn it! Don't be so toxic, Sidrid. I'm not forcing women to do anything. Okay, did I miss anything else? What are you laughing about?
He didn't make me do anything. He encouraged me to go stretch, which I absolutely needed. You've heard my neck. You need to get up and stretch.
You made her go AFK too? No.
How'd I do?
Very good. Oh, please, 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 can we save the whole feminist discussion to a specific stream? I think this really needs its own stream if we're gonna talk about that.
That really would be a good stream.
To talk about like feminism and stuff, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I would want to. If I were to do something like that, I think I would like to make that a bit more broader than only feminism, though. Maybe. I think I could fill a whole stream with feminism, to be fair. But, No, your long message did not show up, Neru. I'm sorry. It didn't. There's something with Twitch recently where long messages just don't get sent. Did you have that?
I don't think so. I mean, not that I know of.
I've had it happen to me recently as well, where I just said like a very big long text as a birthday wish to someone, and it just didn't get sent. And it's sent on my screen, like I saw it, but no one else saw it. So you also don't get a notification like, hey, your message didn't send or something, you know?
Neru could always whisper it to somebody, or like, you know.
Or chop it up into parts. Try that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's already trying. Great. It shows in phone? Whoa, that's extra weird. It shows on phone? Good, Jamal, good. That's extra weird. No, but the whole discussion there, I also feel, I don't know if we're ready for that yet, to be honest. I feel that the topic of talking about
it's also
like feminism,
different. Yeah.
Feminism is one of those topics where I want to be very, very, very careful with who I invite, because it's such an emotionally driven subject that if you're going to invite someone that is too emotionally attached to the subject, shit can explode within a second. Like there can be a word or a single looking the weird way that sets someone off, which will completely escalate a like relatively innocent subject, in my opinion. It can be innocent as long as we keep it that way. So I think that's still a very no, Bomsky. I still don't see it, but I still think I just don't know if we're ready for that yet, for the subject of feminism. I would love to talk about that at some point, but I don't know if we're ready for that.
Just as long as whenever you do, as long as you invite a woman.
No, I thought we were gonna...
Imagine inviting another male to talk about feminism.
I mean, wouldn't that be funny? No, but it like...
How to get canceled 101.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that way I wouldn't invite someone that would potentially get triggered. That way I would just trigger anybody that sees it, you know? Anybody that would come into the stream is like, this is a talk about feminism. What the fuck? You invite a male? All the chat will just completely burn down to the ground. I would immediately be done. That's...
Anyway.
Of course it's important. We'll do that, but once we're ready. I don't feel ready for that yet. Definitely not. Okay, here we go. Neru's message. I think the catch-22 thing, where if you specific with labels to be inclusive, also causing exclusion, I think that's only because it's easier to see difference as bad things. Whoa, I need to reread that. I think that's only because it's easier to see differences as bad things. And it's not commonly thought accepted that people differences aren't bad things, and they don't have to separate us as long as we accept that everyone's... Exactly. No, I 100% fully agree to that. As long as we just accept that everyone's different. That's the whole thing that I said, right? But it's hard to fully 100% commit to that thought. If we can accept that everybody is the way that they are, like accept people for who they are, then we don't need labels anymore. But like the example that I just gave, it's pretty hard to really accept everyone for who they are. There's always like a little thing where you're like, but wait, no, that's not supposed to. You're not supposed to think that way. You know. But how about we tackle the last telenym that we had here? And did you want to say something else?
No, I think I'm ready for the next one.
Is fear of interrupting someone a thing? I don't like to interrupt people, and I find it hard to speak when others are speaking because it makes me feel like no one is listening. This makes me keep things to myself. I think I know who sent this message. I'm not gonna say it obviously because it's anonymous for a reason, but I think I know who it is. Sorry, I couldn't resist interrupting. Fucking Zindran. Luckily, I don't have that fear.
I have the fear of not interrupting.
What do you mean?
So I'm a middle child, okay? So I was the for a while, and then my little brother came along, and he was the baby. And there was a lot of points in my life where I felt very unheard. And the idea of not being heard as an adult, now that I'm like, you know, I am my person, and the idea of having opinions and thoughts and not being able to voice them, that scares me more. So I'm at a point now where I do make myself heard, and sometimes if it means...
Sorry, I was a little bit blown away by all of a sudden I got a lot of like sound alerts and stuff.
Oh, everyone's interrupting. I get it.
Everyone's like, I'm gonna interrupt now. Ha 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 ha. But yeah, can you say that last part again?
Yeah, I was just saying, since I was a middle child, I hate the idea of not being heard. So I do make a point to make myself heard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still going.
Yeah, it still happened. Yeah, it still happened. Jabal, could you please? We get it.
Stop? Question mark? Could you stop, please?
I don't blame you for doing it. It's a funny joke, but it's funny for once or twice. No, yeah, I think I get it. There's just as funny enough. Just as this joke of like interrupting with a voice, with a sound alert, I think in a lot of those things is a very big finesse when it comes to finding balance. Because also with interrupting people, you know, there is definitely a rude way of interrupting people, and there is a polite way of interrupting people, and then there's also people that just talk very fast and a lot, which makes it hard to get in between the sentences and stuff, you know. Same as with this joke. It is a funny joke, but there is a big finesse, like how long is it funny to keep interrupting people, because we're talking about that. How long will that be funny until it isn't funny anymore? And a lot of things tie in with that, like is it a serious stream, or are we in like a laughy moment? Is it like a low energy moment or a high energy moment? There's so many things that tie into that, same as with the interrupting. It's like I really get why it can be scary, and maybe it is a fear. And hey, if we talked about labels enough, but if you want to make a label for that, then if you feel safe with that, then be my guest and give it a name. But I think fear of interrupting can definitely be something, because it is very overwhelming to maybe learn the finesse of interrupting.
Yeah, if something that makes you...
There is definitely a time for I'm sorry. I
Okay.
had to do it. I had
was
to
like,
make the joke
whoa.
myself. I had to make the joke myself. I'm sorry.
How
Go
long
ahead.
is it funny? it was still funny. It was so funny.
I'm a zip now. You go ahead. Sorry. Sorry.
I honestly don't remember. I really don't remember. I'm sorry.
I was talking about how the art of interrupting is really finesse. It's a finesse, and then you said something about what you think about the fear of interrupting. Just your response to the telonym.
I lost it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm sorry because my stupid joke just completely reset your memory. For some reason, my words just found that factory reset button in your head and just completely.
Literally, my brain went, huh? It's okay. We move on.
Look, this is why interrupting is scary. You can literally wipe someone's memory with it.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say.
Ah, yes.
I think, yeah, I think being afraid of interrupting it's a social anxiety thing because you don't want the person who is talking to like get angry with you or get frustrated or think of you a certain way.
Just give it a sec. Yeah, go again. You can go again.
So yeah, I think that leads to kind of social anxiety is what that is more than anything. Is you don't want someone to be upset with you for interrupting. So it's like I would rather people not be upset that's more important to me than having my opinion heard.
Yeah, and I mean it can also bring a lot of toxic thoughts with it as well, I think. Because it can evolve into a lot of other stuff, right? Thanks, Jamal. But it can evolve in a lot of other thoughts that don't have to do anything with the interrupting anymore. Like if I'm first thinking like, I'm in this conversation, but like let me not interrupt them because they're busy talking and I don't really find the moment. It can evolve at some point into thoughts being, why are they not letting me speak? Do they not want to hear my opinion? Is it
Resentful,
because
almost.
what? Yeah, you're gonna resentful or maybe self-deprecating at some point because you're like, am I not interesting? Do they not want me here? Is it what is it? And then because you're not interrupting, you get those thoughts. But because of those thoughts, you're definitely not gonna say anything anymore. Right. Which is gonna make the thoughts even worse, and then you're gonna get like one big ass snowball. And with all those things, I think it's also very important that when you realize that you're in a can I think of a funny name for this? Let's call it a toxic train. If you're in a toxic train, you need to make sure that you know how to stop it, to cut it off, so it doesn't keep on going and going and going, because it will keep on going.
Because a toxic train has no destination, you guys.
No, the toxic train has no destination. It just keeps on going. Toxic snowman. The toxic snowman. That's it. I mean, the toxic snowball. Let's call it a toxic snowball. The yellow snow. Oh, no, don't eat the yellow snow, kids. But that's with everything. I recognize that being one of the bigger things with depression as well, and maybe you can touch up on that even more because you've had experience with depression. What you see happening a lot is that you get into a cycle of thoughts, and you get a depressive thought that get triggered by something that can be anything. It can be very small. It can be something very big. But once that one goes out in your brain, it will follow up with more thoughts that keep on evolving and keep on being negative, and it snowballs completely. And the only way to stop it is find something that interrupts that thought for you. In my case, I think I said it before on stream as well, it's listening to that mental health podcast that I said. It's one thing that is able for me to reset my brain in that regard. But for other people, it can be a hug, a friend to talk to, something that helps them to channel that negativity, like making a drawing or playing some music or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Before I'm gonna pass the mic to you, because you have a very special take on this too, I think. But before I do that, I want to say, like, in my opinion, it's very important to learn to realize about the alarm that we talked about before. Realize what is that alarm going on off in your head, and in this case, it's not an alarm. In this case, it's the toxic train. It's the toxic snowball. You need to realize that it's there, and the fact that you're aware of it means that you can think to yourself, "What's the thing that gets me out of this mindset?" And not keep thinking like, this is bad, this is bad. No, I'm aware that I'm in this mindset right now. I'm aware that I'm in a toxic train right now. What's the thing that gets me out?
Yeah. I think what you were saying, yeah, like number one thing is awareness. The reason that dark time for me was so short-lived was because I'm a very self-aware person. It's like just because of the environment I grew up in, like I'm very aware of my surroundings, of myself, of how I am towards other people, how I am towards myself. So I did benefit in that way, because once I got to that point, I was able to recognize it and be like, what can I do to like get out of this? But I don't think everyone has that luxury. A lot of people, you know, aren't totally aware that they're in that place. You know, they're not looking inwards as much, and they're just like, oh, I'm just like really tired, or like I just really don't want to do this, or I just really have no motivation. Like there's no reason for it. I'm just this is who I am now, you know. So I think it's important to listen to others too. I think when people love you and they notice, a lot of times they'll drop hints, or they'll kind of do what they can to nudge you and be like, hey, like, are you okay? And I think the most important thing is like to ask for help, to look for help, whether it's even if it's within yourself, even if the help comes from you. It's important to, the second you recognize those signs of like, I'm not in a good place, to either, because you probably don't have the answers right away, because you're in that place to begin with. So sometimes reaching out to help, whether it be just, like you said, a hug from someone you love, or professional help, all the way to you Googling stuff, you know, I mean, there's so many different avenues a person could take to help themselves in that situation. But I think awareness is number one, and then number two, asking for help, regardless of who you ask.
Yeah.
Seeking out anything, or just, you know, even if it's like a distraction, which I know sounds kind of backwards, and again, I'm not a medical professional, so like, this isn't actual advice, but like sometimes just doing things that make you happy, and like even if you're not like focusing on what the issue is, just like distracting yourself and like having those moments of like, this is what I like doing in this moment in time. I mean, sometimes I'll just get you through to the next day, which is all you need in that moment, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes it is, but you need to be well aware of, in my opinion, you need to be well aware of the underlying problem as well. Like, you need to be aware, I think, that you're postponing it for now. That you're saying, I'm going for the distraction right now, and I'm not going for dealing with the problem.
Yeah, and that's okay. Just as, like you said, as long as you're aware of it, and you're like, I'm pushing this off to tomorrow. I just want to get to tomorrow. Like, so this is what I'm gonna do in the meantime.
I want to tackle this tomorrow. I want to just feel a little bit better first. I would just want to feel good, and then I'm gonna think what I want to do with this.
Yeah. I think in my case, I did get really lucky, because what I went through was it was obvious to me that it was because I had a major life change. And I don't think that for a lot of people, it's very like, it can be very gradual, you know? So like, they're like, nothing's really different. So why am I all of a sudden like really struggling? So I think that's another reason my like period of darkness was so short, because I knew exactly. I was like, well, what's the one thing in my life that's completely different? Oh yeah, my entire day-to-day looks different.
What a surprise!
Yeah. Oh, what could it be? Yeah.
Latching on to what Cute Killer Fox said, I feel like asking for help needs a bit more of a toolbox as a general tip. When to ask, how to ask, whom to ask, what to expect, etc. I think that's a very good question, Lightwave. Also, welcome in, by the way. And it's latching on to what Foxy said. Also, welcome in, Fox, and thank you for the amazing input. But as for the toolbox, I love that you used the term toolbox, by the way. Very nice. Yeah. I think it's... I sound like a broken record at this point, but it's... Again, and that's what everything, I think, dumps down to, is learning to listen to yourself, maybe? Like I said before a million times, like, oh, you need to just listen to yourself. But I know it's not that easy. I know it's definitely not that easy. But you need to learn to listen to yourself. Learn to recognize what you want and where your priority lies and where your preferences lie. Because truth of the matter is, I can't really tell you who to ask, where you should go, what you should expect. But those questions you can ask yourself, I think. All of those questions. You can ask yourself, who do I want to go to? What do I want to get out of the conversation? How do I want to ask that person something? And when do I want to ask it? It's like Reasky just said. Do you want to do it now? Or do you want some distraction first and do it tomorrow? When it comes to how to ask, how do you want to ask it? Do you want to text someone? Do you want to call someone? Do you want to see someone physically and then talk to them? Well, next question, whom to ask? Who do you want to talk to? Do you want to talk to a professional? Do you want to... I'm going to wait for 1 second till the sound is gone. Do you want to talk to a professional? Do you want to talk to a friend? Do you want to talk to family? That's all things you need to ask yourself. And what to expect? Well, that ties in with everything. What do you expect from it? Do you expect from it that it's going to solve everything for you? I don't think that's the right mindset, because in the end, you need to fix yourself always. You need to be the one that fixes it. It will never be someone else. But, you know... If you deep down inside, you know what to expect. I know that I have friends that I can go to, and I know if I go to them, they will just have fun with me. And I know that I will have friends that will just reassure me, just tell me, no, dude, you're doing great. You're doing an awesome job. The content you're making is amazing. I really love it. I know that I can expect that from someone. And I know people that I can go to that will tell me, let's look at the analytics. I know people that will tell me, okay, dude, what's really bothering you? Let's really go deep inside, see what your feelings say, and let's get to the core. So I think the what do you expect ties in with the who do you want to ask.
Yeah, and I don't think it's... And I had said this earlier, asking for help doesn't literally always have to mean, hey, I'm struggling, I'm asking this other person what to do. You know, like I'm opening up to them. It doesn't always mean that. Sometimes it can be like just like me with my phobia, for example. It got to a point where it was like kind of like debilitating. Like it was really disrupting my day to day and I wasn't able to like function normally. And I found what really helped me with that was like I went online, which it was kind of triggering because I read a lot more into my phobia, which didn't help. But I also
Dr.
found
Google.
a lot of people. I went to forums of people with the same thing and just like talked to them. And we didn't have the answers for each other because we're obviously all struggling with the same thing. But sometimes just hearing that people are kind of going through the same thing helps you feel better, you know, just knowing that you're not alone in it. It's not an answer. It's not like, oh, this is how to feel better, but it does. That's what I meant by like asking for help. It doesn't literally mean I'm asking this person for help. It just means like even looking internally to how you can make yourself feel a little bit better about what you're going through. Now there are such things as like literally asking for help, like actually going to a licensed professional. You know what I mean? Like that is like a literal seeking help. But like you said, Rowan, I think it's like it depends on you and depends on what you need and
what
who you ask, why you ask, when you ask.
Yeah.
That's all dependent on yourself.
And what you expect from the conversation. I mean, I have had so many times where I felt like such an idiot afterwards. It always comes afterwards. Where I felt like such an idiot because I basically went to a friend and I expected him to give me insight into my problems. And I was like, I know he's the one that just gives me hugs and reassures me.
Yeah.
Like, how stupid is it of me to go to him and expect this conversation to unfold into him giving me wise life lessons? That's not how our bond works. Doesn't make him more or less valuable. It doesn't make him more or less valuable at all. But it's just, don't. If you want to refer back to those toolboxes, don't ask someone to be a wrench if they're a screwdriver.
Yeah.
If we're gonna revert back to that, the mechanics toolbox, don't ask someone to be a screwdriver if they are a wrench or vice versa. Like, you need to know your toolbox. You need to utilize that and listen to yourself what you need at that moment. I think.
Yeah.
Not a professional.
No, I know. I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, going back to again, you could technically ask anybody for help, but that doesn't mean you should ask just anybody for help.
No.
Right?
No. And a lot of time, like, luckily, especially with our community, we're such a big community with loving people that if anybody in chat right now would probably say, I need to talk to someone, at least 5, 6, 7 people would respond like, I'm here. But you need to ask yourself, like, is that what I need? Do I need that kind of help right now? Is that what's gonna solve my issue? Is that the state of
Yeah. Do you need someone to just listen? Do you need someone?
Are
to
you in that
actually give you
phase?
advice?
Yeah. Very good one. I think we're finally gonna go to the myths and examples.
Yeah, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Well, regularly scheduled, I think we're at least 1.5 hours behind. Introverts have it easy during COVID. They like to be alone anyway.
Wrong. No one had it easy.
Okay, next one. No. No, but like I obviously also firmly disagree with this one. But it's definitely one of the misconceptions. I've heard that so many times. People saying like, "Oh well, if you're introverted already, it's probably easy, because you're at home all the time and blah blah blah."
It was definitely a scary time for every personality type, in my opinion. Some people probably struggled more than others, sure. But
yeah,
no.
I think it doesn't have to. Well, the part that I do get that maybe it is a little bit true is the part that we talked about before, where it is that extroverted people need a bigger rush to get that dopamine flowing, and it is probably indeed harder to get that level of response going when you're inside in quarantine. But I think being inside in quarantine is such a low such a boring thing that it's not even a question anymore. Like, this is also too low of a trigger for introverted people. Like, you can say like extroverted people need a higher trigger. They need to have more going on than introverted people to be, triggered for their dopamine. But this was just so low that it basically flatlined everyone in that way.
And it was a really scary time too. I mean, it still is, but I think we're kind of used to it now, which is kind of sad. But when everything first hit, like, I mean, at least our generation, I mean, maybe the oldest generations, if anyone was there for the Spanish flu, is that even possible anymore? No, because they would be 120. So this is the first time that any of us had really experienced like what this was like to a global pandemic, and like what does that even mean? Like, it's hard to wrap your head around it, you know, because we're so used to our own communities and just being in the space around us. And then when everyone in the world is going through something that intense, and there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of uncertainty, like, it doesn't matter if you're in your home and you like being home and you don't like being around other humans. It's still a scary time, and it's still a lot for us to process, I think.
It's very funny because I see Bomsky's response saying that he was never as happy as when he since 2 years ago, as when he went to a festival last summer. Like, that sounds to me like pretty extroverted trait. Like, doing something very big really released all that dopamine again and made you feel very happy about it. So that's very fun. But yeah, we all had those moments, and now you don't. None of that. And I at some point I had a talk with someone who is very, very interested in a lot of the culture in, for example, Japan. Where they obviously have a lot of, you know, big things going on. They have like the stereotypes about the whole tentacles and stuff, you know. Yes.
Wait, what?
I'm going there. You know, all the weird. In my opinion, sorry, it is not weird. I'm gonna debunk that in a second. But in my opinion, weird, you know, fetishes, attractions, things to relax, like hentai and all that stuff they have over there, where I'm like, whoa. There was a talk that I had with that guy where he literally also said, like, yes, the reason why they do that there, where their culture evolved in such a way with all those things going on, is literally because they work so much and they have so much stress and they isolate also so much that they need bigger dopamine rushes and bigger impacts in their relaxation, so to say. Right? So if they do something to relax, it needs to be extra as well, because the things they do to get that stress them out are bigger as well compared to
But do you think
us.
that's because of culture, not necessarily because of individual brain function?
Yes, but that is why that culture developed in that way. Or, well, it seems like that. I'm not gonna state that it is because I'm not a professional, but that is most likely why it developed in such a way, because they noticed that they needed a higher impact on relaxation because of all the stress and all the things that they do. So that culture evolved in the way that it would facilitate more relaxing things. I don't know how to say that properly, but it's the same with us. You notice it right now. We're all stuck inside. We don't do anything that relaxes us. So the stress and the lack of those things really makes a bigger impact on you, because there are no things that, you know, refuel you, so to say.
Going back to what Bomsky said, how he, you know, never been happier in the last 2 years than when he went to a festival last summer. I used to, you know, I live in a big city. I used to go to concerts frequently. I used to go to the movies. I used to go to the mall. Like, I you know, I went to sporting events. Like, I did things because I live in a place where there's a lot going on. Since COVID, since getting in the habit of being alone, the going and doing those types of things have actually been they add stress to me now. For example, I went to the mall a couple weeks ago with a friend. Just the mall, nothing crazy. What?
I know where this is going, and I think I have the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I was in a store. I was completely fine. I was having a totally normal day. Out of nowhere, hit me like a train, panic attack. And I was like, I need to exit the building now. She was like, okay. And luckily she has anxiety, so she understood it. But that's not anything that would have happened before COVID. Like, it's just not anything that would have happened before COVID. I know myself. So now that I'm like programmed to like be inside and like be, you know, adjust to this, it's actually kind of made things more difficult. And I think that's where the introvert in me comes out. Cause like if Bomsky is saying, oh, like finally being out at that music festival, like that gave me so much joy, you know, because like I've been cooped up inside and I finally was surrounded by people, and that's fantastic. But for some of us, now going out to those things is a lot harder.
Well, I think it comes down to the same thing though. But in your case, you were, and I think that's what happened to me too, but I'm also still like figuring that out right now on the spot. But he did something that he loved, something that relaxed him, right? Which was going to a festival. In that case, it really released a lot of dopamine for him, made him feel nice, refueled his battery a lot again, which is about the whole thing that I tried to compare it with in the Japanese culture. But in your case, and I think that's also what happened to me, you did something that you just had to do as well. Just you went to a mall, you went shopping, you did something that was normal back in the day, but a very separate thing. Yo, thanks, Frosty. I really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. I'm gonna let that play for a sec.
Sweet Fastinet.
Thanks, dude. Thank you for the gift sub to Fox.
Gifted a tier 1 sub to cute_killer_fox. This is their first gift sub in the channel.
Thanks, dude. I really appreciate that. But how do we show Frosty our appreciation? Yeah, are you gonna? Oh, I timed them out already. Did he?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, no, he didn't. He didn't.
Threatening to.
It's close. But I think it's a separate issue there. I may, in my like experience with it, it's that you're not used to also a lot happening anymore. And maybe for Bomsky, that was enough of positive input for him to have a dopamine rush, but for you it wasn't maybe enough positive input, because for you it might have been just a lot of things happening around you, and you're not used to that. You're used to being at home, having it quiet, having not too many things happen around you. I had to get used to that again. I went out, and the first thing I did was go out and have some dinner somewhere with a lot of people and music going on, and me and Romy just looked at each other after like 5 minutes going like, what are you thinking? And we're like, I'm trying not to freak out. What are you thinking? I'm trying not to freak out too, because we are very sensitive both. Like Romy said it before in chat as well. She is highly sensitive, and I am also highly sensitive. So we are already very sensitive to a lot of impulses going on. And when you're not used to impulses because you've been isolated, and you go out, your level of resistance is lowered by a lot, of course. So we just completely crashed. We also almost had a panic attack right in the restaurant, the both of us, just because we weren't used to all of those impulses anymore, and we were like, oh shit, this is just, it's the first time in my whole life that I literally asked the DJ if he could turn down the music a little bit. Because we just couldn't handle it anymore, and it was such a weird feeling. and it got better though. I don't know if it got better for you after a while again.
I think it's slowly starting to, because I am starting for the first time since March of 2020. I am starting to have things on the books like every weekend back like I used to. Mm-hmm. So it is happening more frequently. I think the frequency helps, and my friends have noticed too. You know, my friends that understand, and they understand what I'm going through. They've said, hey, because you're struggling, let's get you out. Like, let's do a little bit of exposure therapy. You didn't have any plans this weekend, but let's get you some plans this weekend so you can get out of the house and you know, be exposed to a little bit more. I think, but I'm reading a lot in chat that like what we've said, like some people have had similar situations, some people have had opposite situations, some people are indifferent. So I think it just goes to show that like everyone really is different, and the last couple of years have been, even though we all went through the same event, it changed for people in completely different ways. Some for the better, some for the worse, some not at all. So it's interesting how we're all the same but different.
Yeah, it's super funny. You see it now as well. Also, Jamal, I would love to, if you save that for a different stream, that would be perfect. And you would be more than welcome to spend those points next Thursday. But for now, I would love to keep the vibe as is. And if you appreciate, if you if you would like to go with that, I would really appreciate that. But it's exactly like Chantal says, which is very funny because she mentions that she had the complete opposite experience that you did. And she says I've become more confident and outgoing from needing to be alone inside. Although also in that, I think there's a lot of fine print because in my case, it wasn't not wanting to go outside. I wanted to go outside. I had the same. I really wanted to go somewhere. I wanted to go out for that dinner with Romy, and I wanted to go out and I wanted to have fun. But I went there and it like I just completely crashed.
It's overstimulation in a world where we're not used to it anymore.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamal.
Thank you, Jamal.
Yes, exactly, Fox. We're all different, and that makes us the same. But it's indeed, it's funny how we got to this again. While debunking the myth of introverts having it easy during COVID. Yeah. Okay. How are we gonna do this? Because I do want to, we're definitely not gonna be able to tackle everything.
Can you
let's keep the myths a little bit shorter with the answering, because right now I think that was the most open one, and we're gonna come to a lot of those that are a little bit more factual. Like they actually did research to that, and it's actually most of them are actually true. 24-hour stream so we can tackle all the subjects. Oh, dude, I have to work tomorrow.
And I got a dinner in a couple hours.
Yeah, you have a dinner.
Have a panic attack at.
You need to have a panic attack at a dinner reservation. Yeah. It's very important. Thank you, Chantal. It's going to be on YouTube, so that's gonna be nice. And I am more than happy to invite Reasky over if we have any other things we want to touch up on later. If you guys really loved it that much. Definitely, but let's tackle a couple more in a little bit more of a faster pace.
Speed round.
Speed run. Well, I do want to give it the attention it needs, but that's it.
Right.
In workplace meetings.
For us.
Yeah, for us. In workplace meetings, extroverts speak up while introverts only talk when prompted. So they specifically say that it's not that introverts don't talk. No, they interact with the meeting more when they are prompted to. They will not speak out of their own, help me out. Give me the words.
They won't speak
out of their own
wanting to.
It's here. It's at the tip of my tongue.
Something fruition?
Out of their own fruition?
Is that a word?
Accords. No.
Volition.
Volition. That's the one. Thanks, buddy. Oh, that's the one. Oh, that feels good. Oh.
I should know this.
That's you know that relief of a feeling when you finally get that word.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. But yeah, that I agree. Do you agree?
That the myth is incorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like we said earlier, whether you're extroverted or introverted doesn't dictate like how you are as how you perform in your job. It just provides the skill set. So yes, it might be more likely that an extrovert would speak out because it's easier for it by, their natural way of doing things. It might be easier for them to speak out without, being in their head so much, or like, they want to be heard more. So it might be easier, but that doesn't mean that someone, if there's an extrovert and an introvert sitting next to each other, I mean, the introvert could be the better person in that job, and they're like, I want to perform well, and I want to speak out in this meeting because I care about my career. And at the end of the day, even though it's painful for me to raise my hand because I don't want to, I'm going to, you know.
Yeah.
So
I'm definitely convinced that an introvert will still speak up if it's important enough. But I think that's the thing, right? An extrovert is in a lot of ways proven to be a little bit more socially active, so they want to speak up, and that way, and that ties in with the social styles that we talked about in the beginning, where you have like the 4-way. Where you also have like, is someone results driven or more a people pleaser? Introverts tend to have, in that way, I think, tends to go a little bit more towards the results driven side as well, where they are, especially in a meeting, where they're more like, we just want to, you know, focus on the matter at hand. And if I don't have to speak, I'm not gonna speak. Whereas extroverts are more like, okay, let's have some fun with the meeting. Let's talk about a lot. I want to explain this correctly. I care about what other people think of me a lot socially. So I that's the thing that I suffer from a lot. I tend to over-explain everything. So I'm touching on a subject, and then I'm gonna keep on giving examples and examples and examples and examples, where maybe a more introverted person would possibly just, you know, cut to the point. And then if somebody doesn't get it, they'll probably ask, and, you know, whatever. It's okay.
Yeah. So like we've said all day, yeah, you might have an inclination to do one thing versus the other, depending on your type. But at the end of the day, your perception and your goal is gonna outshine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, most of these the points that I'm calling out right now are actually trends. Like, these are things that they recognized as, you know, things that often happen with introverts and extroverts. Like, they saw one of the things that they saw was that commonly introverts don't speak up at meetings. And that extroverts speak up more, or that they only speak up when prompted. So these are all things that are already, well, not proven, but you know what I mean.
I mean, they're myths for a reason, kind of, you know, because you're just going off of assumption based off of the typical response you would get, but that doesn't make it a fact at all.
I do think, because it's also said now, I see in chat, like, people try to pull it out of others. Said like, hey, you're not speaking up. Speak up, man. I'm like, I also don't know if that's like the way to go, because like I said, introverts tend to speak maybe more when it's needed, when prompted. So when there's something to say, they will say it. If not, they won't. And I don't think we should force people to speak, because they have a very specific reason why they're only talking when they are talking and not talking when they're not talking. So should we motivate everybody to always speak? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay, next point. Speedrunning this bitch. Let's go. Extroverts like an open workspace, while introverts like working in a quiet space. Like, this is a super interesting one to me, because I love working in quiet places. And I'm definitely a very extroverted person. I definitely like to have a lot of chats and fun and giggles and jokes and whatever when I'm on my break time. Mm-hmm. When I'm like in the cafeteria area and we're just sitting there with colleagues and we're having fun. But while I'm working, I definitely like to, you know, some space to be able to focus.
Yeah, I'm definitely smack dab in the middle. Because I had an open work. Where I used to work, we had like big long tables that all of our computers were at. There were no dividers between us. Like, I could, if I leaned over, I could reach out and touch the shoulder of the person next to me. Like, that's how closely we worked. And there were some days I hated it. I was like, I would end up wearing headphones a lot because I was like, I need to be in my zone. And then other days I was like, I don't really feel lonely because I'm surrounded by other humans, and, you know, they'll lean over and they'll talk to me. They'll ask me how my day was. So again, right smack dab in the middle for me. So it's definitely, it's a myth.
It fits your label.
Yeah.
Oh man, I swear to God, I'm enjoying chat right now so much. It's like I'm reading all of the stories and comments of people of their own experiences with these prompts, and it's so interesting. And I realized that I definitely should have put like chat right here in the middle, on the screen. So if when we put it on YouTube, that people can also still read back what people are saying in chat, because it's super funny to see all these mixed scenarios and people having different experiences with certain scenarios. So that's definitely one that I'm gonna note down. And if I forget, please, one of the mods remind me that for next podcast stream, I'm gonna put chats in the screen somewhere as well, because this is ridiculously interesting to read everything, and I want to probably read it back as well at some point, because I can't respond to everybody right now. Don't let YouTube see my stupidness. It's not stupid. You're just you. It's fine. And you're not stupid. Nobody's stupid. You're all cuties. Next point. Extroverts enjoy... Wait, did we touch upon the last one? Oh, yeah, we did. Extrovert enjoy praise and attention, where introverts don't like too much praise and attention. Do you like praise and attention?
So this is an interesting myth, because I think by definition, extroverts tend to have more brain activity when being recognized. But the way that they worded it, work for the dopamine hits. But I think specifically, no. I mean, just because someone's an introvert doesn't mean they don't like being complimented or being praised or being recognized for their achievements. It just might mean I think in general, maybe less likely that extroverts would probably get a higher dose. You know what I mean?
Yes, but that can result in their preference, like we said in the beginning, where with like the study of extroverted people having a more brain activity when seeing the human, where the introverts stayed more neutral. Maybe that ties in with this as well. You know, the fact that they just stay more neutral, so the value of a praise and attention isn't as high, because they don't get that peak, you know, that spike all of a sudden when that happens. For them, it's the same as not having it, making it a little bit, you know, unnecessary maybe. They're like, we don't have to get into that, you know. We don't. We can just move on from this, and you don't have to praise me or give me the attention. I don't know.
Or they still like it, and they, like you said, like just don't. They don't make a big deal out of it, so you're like, oh, you don't care as much, because you're not like, thank you so much for recognizing me. But that doesn't mean they didn't enjoy it, you know. They're just not gonna be like, thanks, I'm so glad you recognized me.
I'm so mixed in that, because I love praise, but I also hate praise. Like, I like a compliment, but if it's not, that's also why we have it with our Christmas giveaway right now. People can earn points on the channel with doing certain things, and one of the things where they can do to earn points is give a compliment, and they get 5 points for it, but the compliment has to be sincere. And the reason why I said is, like, maybe that's also my personal preference, but I will look right through you if you're gonna give me a basic bitch compliment. If you're just gonna tell me, oh, you're doing good, I'm like,
you're doing great, sweetie.
Really?
That's what we all say to each other. It's like so condescending.
Like, I have, and for me personally, I appreciate that you take the time, like, to give me a compliment and try to, like, make me feel better. I appreciate the thought behind it, but if you really want to cheer me up with a compliment, be specific. Tell me, you know, the compliments that really hit me in the feels are the compliments when people are like, dude, the fact that yesterday you made me lunch, it really made my day. I had a bad day, and the fact that you saw that you recognized that and made me lunch, that was wonderful. Thank you for doing that for me. That was amazing. Like, that's a sincere compliment. That's really showing praise to someone for what they've done, and that's something that has, like, that's a 180 for me. That has so much value to me. Someone really saying something like that. Yeah. Against someone saying, you look good. You're doing great. You know, it's like, thanks, I guess.
Also, from a career standpoint, I think it's important for managers to recognize and praise any coworker, regardless of their personality type, whenever they do something correct, because that's also how you just be a better worker. You know, it doesn't matter if you're extroverted or introverted. Like, if your manager's like, hey, great job on this, and like I like the way that you laid this out for everybody,
Yeah.
and like keep up the good work. Like anyone wants to hear that, and that's how you build, you know.
Yeah. And that's the same as with bad things. As a manager, you shouldn't point out bad things for your employees saying you're doing that bad. No, that's not how you do it. You're saying like this and this is the specific thing that is not going well right now. You need to fix that by doing this and this and this. Same with compliments. You shouldn't say to your colleagues or the one that you're managing, say like, "Oh, you're doing great." No, you should say like, "Hey, dude, that thing that you did yesterday looks fucking awesome. That's looking stunning, dude. I really liked how you did that, and keep it up." You know, that's how you give a compliment as a manager, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between being a boss and a leader. A boss will just be like, "Hold on," and then a leader will be like, "Keep doing this thing you're doing."
Please don't.
What?
Don't talk about this. This is the leadership versus bosses is one of the subjects that I'm so fucking passionate about to talk about that I should not start talking about that
Sneak
right now.
peek for another Sunday talk that you might have with somebody? Question mark?
Wait, is that something you're
versus
passionate about too? Or was it not like...
No, I'm just saying with that reaction, I think it's something you should dive
Yes,
into.
definitely. If people like that, like the good leadership is probably a good one to talk about. Hell yes. Oh, yes, I need to write that down.
Bonky
one
said
of the-
restrained from the subject again.
Yes, I know. Can one of the mods please send that to me so I don't forget? But that's a really good topic that I want to look for someone for.
Okay,
Yeah.
next topic.
Okay. Next one.
Next myth.
Yes, I am going to save the rest of the myths.
Okay.
I think because of time. We have a couple. If people really like this, we can always touch on that maybe next time. But like I said, I also have a couple of questions prepared. And maybe it's fun if we touch up on a few questions before we end this this podcast talk session. Because, you know, then we had some myths, we had some telonyms, we had some questions, and then we, you know, had some of everything. You okay with that?
Yeah. Chilling.
Very great job, by the way, Chantal. We just wanted to point out that Chantal is the right kind of manager. Very well done. It's very nice to read that. There is no right and wrong, by the way. I was just messing around. Okay, first question I had prepared was... and I'm very curious about this. Are introverts, that's my question because I'm an extrovert, of course, but are introverts more comfortable with their own thoughts?
Not necessarily.
Like,
I
one
think-
thing that I notice is that I really have my moments where I just don't want to be alone with my own thoughts, and I know that some other people, maybe also in chat, have the same problem. But I have moments where I just don't want to be alone with my own thoughts because I know that will not get to anything good. And I just think like maybe if because an introvert tends to be a little less social, that they are more used to their own thoughts or something.
I think being more used to and being comfortable with are two different things. So maybe introverts, yes, are able to cope with their thoughts more because they're alone with them more, but I think it totally depends on the person. And, you know, it depends on where they are in their life, you know? If an extrovert or an introvert's in a good place and, you know, good place mentally, yeah, there, you know, some negative thoughts might not have as much of an impact, but regardless of how social someone is or how outgoing they are or how much they want to be, you know, with other people, if someone's not in a good place mentally, it's definitely easy for anyone's thoughts to, you know, negative thoughts to.
You don't think that
get in your head.
introverts have like a little bit more skill in that?
Maybe, yeah, like I said, it might be a little bit easier to cope because they tend to be okay with like being alone more, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, because you're introverted, you have an easy time with your thoughts. You know?
Yeah. No, but that's there's obviously always a fine print. Always with these questions, there is not a black or white. There's always a gray area in between, I guess. But yeah, that I wondered that a lot myself. That was actually just a question that really came from my own heart, because I constantly have moments where I just don't want to be alone with my own thoughts, and where I'm
One
like,
of those things where you're like, is it easier for other people? Because it's
yeah,
tough,
it doesn't get
you know,
easier.
but there's stuff for everybody.
And it gets back to, and that's so annoying. It's something I also talked to my dad about, is emotions will cancel out ratio. Rational, is it rational thinking? Being able to think about things without emotion. If I explain it like that, then it's obvious that they cancel each other out. But in a lot of ways, it is necessary to fix a problem that's in your head, fix some problem that's in your thoughts, in your inner monologue. It's necessary to think straight. It's to think without emotions. But if you're in like an emotional mood and you're thinking about depressing stuff, how the hell are you gonna get out of that situation? I have had it millions of times where I'm like in this depression spiral in my head, just thinking negative things, and then I can't get out of it. I just can't. And then after like an hour or a couple of hours where I'm back to being like not emotional, I'm like, why didn't I just do this? It's so logical.
Yeah.
The solution to this problem is so logical.
Yeah, I don't think that is dependent on whether someone is extroverted or not. I think that's just dependent on the person. Some people don't struggle that way, you know.
See you
A lot
later,
of us do.
Lightwave. Sorry, I just wanted to
Bye,
quickly say bye. It's good to have at least one person I can tell them, but still really... Yeah, see, okay, multiple people have this problem. So when people go like, yep, I relate, and I'm like, okay, I know. I got my answer already. Okay, so second question. I'm really selective right now which question I want to ask, because I have some super interesting ones and I have some dull ones that are not really that interesting but are fun to talk about if we have time. But oh yeah, this one I really want to ask, and it has a follow-up. What's the worst thing that ever happened to you that you think is because of being introverted or extroverted?
Well, as we know, I'm ambivert.
Yeah, in your case, ambiverted.
I don't know. I might need to have a second to think about that. Maybe as it not one specific event necessarily, but I think growing up, I think not knowing whether I'm extroverted or introverted kind of hindered me figuring out who I was. I think it took me a lot. Maybe it takes everyone a long time, but I feel like it took me a long time to figure out who I was as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I was following in the footsteps of a lot of other people, whether I looked up to them or not, because I didn't have any sense of like, oh, this is who I am and this is who I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
And I think maybe being ambivert had something to do with that, because I was shy, but I wanted to be, not shy, but I liked a little bit of attention, but not too much. And I liked to be alone, but I also hated to be alone, so I was like constantly trying to be like,
Christ.
oh, what's the right thing to do? I don't know what the right thing to do is.
You really gotta send me those tests after the stream, because I feel like right now sometimes I relate so much to your stories that I'm like, am I an ambivert? It's
I think everyone is a little bit. Everyone definitely has.
well,
both
again,
sides.
yeah, we all have the both sides. It's just a matter of like how close are we to the middle, And
Yeah.
in your case, it's
I'm just smack dab in the middle.
The
And that's-
interwebs says that you're very damn close to that
Yeah.
perfect middle.
Yeah.
At
And I
least
think
very
that
close.
that's so like again, not a specific event, but that's where it caused the most stress in my life, was having those so many years of not having any direction of who I was or wanted to be, because I was constantly just trying to figure out what the right thing to do was from other people. Does that make sense?
Sorry, I'm distracted by what's going on in chat right now.
You guys are jerks. Y'all are such jerks.
No, but it makes sense. It makes sense what you said. But
I should have never brought that video to light on the internet.
I think it got resurfaced not too long ago, right? Wasn't it in TJ's? No, was it in?
Oh, I have a redemption, and anytime someone wants to spend the points on it, I play the video.
Yeah, I remember seeing it not too long ago. Yeah, definitely. Oh no, it was at your anniversary. That's what it was, in like the video compilation. That's what it was.
Was it in the compilation? It probably was.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
How
How about you?
Yeah.
You have an event?
Well, maybe not a specific event, but multiple. And it's all a result of one thing, in my opinion. It's the fact that I care too much about what other people think, and it has always been that. And it's definitely a very big character trait of mine that it's just known that is a struggle for me for years already. The fact that I give a shit.
Yeah.
Like I think about everything always. Like, do they like me? Do they not like me? I compare myself. I look at their messages. I had moments where I literally compared messages, like, they're more excited to see that person than to see my person, me as a person, my person. But that is definitely the thing about being extroverted that I hate. That I strongly hate, like with every single fiber in my body that I have. I would love that to be gone.
Yeah. You dislike the part of the extrovert in you that loves to be loved.
No, I
You know
like
what I
that.
mean?
No, I like that. That's different. I just hate the part of me that constantly tries to fill that in and tries to do things because I think other people will like that, you know? And think about what other people would think, which is in its core already a super stupid thing, because
It's not stupid.
well, who are you to decide what someone else thinks? I should never be thinking, Reasky is probably thinking this about me, because I am me. I am not allowed to decide what you think. In my reality, right? In my reality, of course, I don't decide what you think, but also in my reality, it's the most self-demolishing thing you can do to fill in the blanks in your head for what someone else is thinking.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's so stupid. It makes no sense. But you're in my opinion, that's an extroverted trait that just happens, and I feel like that's also one of the hardest things to get rid of. A lot of people just tell you like, man, just don't listen to it. Don't just don't care.
Yeah.
Wave your hands in the air and act like you just don't care. Like, no, it's not. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. And you learn to find methods to channel that in a different way, to not have it as much and to focus on other things. Yo, thanks, drug dealer.
It is too amazing stream that I just couldn't do this.
I love
less
that
than
username.
3.
Thanks, drug dealer.
Thank you, drug dealer. That's amazing. Thank you. But yeah, and I think we're gonna close it off with, but because this is I think this is clear, and I mean, I got it under control. It goes with ups and downs. but it's a struggle that always keeps on going as well. Like, it's definitely gonna come back in a different way in a couple of years again, and then I find a way to deal with it, and then it comes back in a couple of years in a different way again.
Yeah. With age and with experience, you learn more about how you react to things, how you feel about things, and how to deal with those, you know?
Yes.
I mean, there's one thing that's not bad about growing up, and that's experience, you know?
Yeah. And
Learning
please, if you're watching this, for the love of God, embrace learning. Learn to love learning. That sounds very hypocritical. Learn to love learning. If you hate learning, then you don't want to learn to love learning. But but we humans are made to learn, and that's we are made to learn, and it's something that helps us enjoy life even more. And I think the only reason why some people grow up to say like, oh, it was all I feel miserable right now, and when I was younger it was better. No, when we were younger it was easier, but it can be just as much fun if we just keep on learning. I feel like sometimes we're just behind on our learning, and that's why we have such a big struggle in life. But you know, we learn a little bit more, and then we can enjoy life a little bit more.
Yeah. And also, mistakes are a part of life, and you learn from them. And even though making mistakes sucks, whether it's in your career, in your relationships, with yourself, whatever, that's also how you learn and grow. So make mistakes when you're young and be okay with it.
Shut up, Fox. No. Mistakes are not unacceptable. I made the biggest realizations because of mistakes.
Yeah.
Just the only thing I'm gonna say is don't do this. Just don't. Once you fall on your face, open your eyes and make sure you take it all in. Embrace it. Fall flat on your face and embrace why you fell. Look at your shoelaces. Are they untied? Is that why you fell? Is it because of like a steep cliff? Is it why? Take everything in, because that's the biggest opportunity you're gonna get to learn. Okay, final question for tonight, because I really have to well, not cut it short. It has definitely not been short, but I also want to make sure that you and we can also socially refuel, because this takes a lot of energy to keep focused in this conversation. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I do have dinner plans.
Yeah, and you have dinner plans. I have plans with my bed. Thanks, Bomsky. Yeah, you still want marbles, I know, buddy. But the last question then, and maybe we can one day do a part 2 if everybody wants this. If everybody's excited about it. We'll see. We'll see how people send me messages or whatever, or send you messages like, do this more, or maybe we'll do a part 2 in your channel. Who knows? I'm gonna wait until those are done. Bad cannot go without good. So my last question is, what's the best thing that happened to you because you're an omnivert or an ambivert?
Maybe, again, not an event, but something that comes from it. Being able to empathize with others that are on both sides. I can understand people who are really introverted, and I can also understand people who are really extroverted, and it makes it easier for me to connect with other people because I'm not like, why would you feel that way? How could, how do you not love, you know what I mean? Like I can see both sides, and it makes it easier for me. I would say I have friends that are completely both. I have friends who all they want to do is go to bars and be in big groups, and they throw the best parties, and they're constantly like thinking of me and texting me. And then I have friends who I don't talk to them often. I see them maybe once a year, maybe, and we pick up right where we left off, and they do their own thing, and they're very private. But I can understand both, and I don't get frustrated with either, because I like that I can understand how both sides of the brain work.
Yeah.
That's the best thing, relating to people.
That's nice. That's very nice.
How about you?
Yeah, by the way, I'm seeing a lot of people wanting a part 2, so that's a very good thing. Also, what seems like a good plan, and I want to ask you this if you're okay with doing that, is maybe you could put the tests that you did in my Discord after stream or something.
Let me find like like I said, all the ones I took were very like, they were like 12 questions, and it was like, would you rather go to the club or would you rather read a book? It was very like, it wasn't super in detail. So
but
I'll see if I can.
I mean, a couple of quizzes are fine as well. Just if you have multiple, it's also good. But it's nice to find out because, in my opinion, again, it's still a percentage. So also for you, Furry Baron, it's like you can be 20% introverted and 80% extroverted, or maybe you're like more like a 50-50 or a 40-60 or a 30-70. You know, it differs per person. And if you're a 50-50, then yeah, most probably that you're an ambivert. And except for Wiggles, he's indeed 100% adorable. But yeah, for me, the best thing, I guess, is I think the same. One of the things that you also called out is the possibility to feel other people's emotions is something that brought me a lot of joy. And also tears, but that makes it so beautiful. I see a lot of beauty in being able to share emotions with people. And it's something I'm very grateful for as well, to be able to do that, and also to be able to use that to help others, and to when I've had friends that I felt something was wrong, and that I really pulled it out of them, like, what's wrong, buddy? I can see it, I can read it, I can feel it, something's wrong. And then I got them to finally talk, and we went there, and I felt sometimes felt really in detail what it is they needed, and I was able to facilitate that because of that. Also, when it was, for example, something that wasn't logical for me, if I had a friend and I felt that he was just feeling bad and he wanted to be alone, and I really wanted to be alone, that I was able to really sense that feeling and be like, okay, here, have your space, buddy. Take all the time you need. It's gonna be all fine. I know exactly what you mean. Take the time you need it. And whenever someone needed people and they said they wanted distance, but they needed people, I just came over. I'm like, nope, we're gonna have fun right now. Shut up. Get your gaming console. We're gonna play some, I don't know what. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Aside from that, it's maybe the second thing is just being able to talk easily, you know, maybe my lack of shame, and just being able to be an idiot and not give a shit, you know, because that comes naturally to me, being an idiot, and doing
I don't know about that.
Doing funny stuff. Like, a lot of people I met in my life, in real life, always remember me specifically for something. Like, I often see people that I met like once or twice on a party, and they come to me and like, oh, you're the dude from the magic tricks. Oh, or someone says like, oh, you're the dude with the weird dance. Or like, it's always something, you know, always something that I did that evening, which was weird or funny, or at least something memorable, you know. And I think that's a very extroverted thing, a trait that I have because I'm extroverted.
So your thing that you like about being extroverted is that it helps connect you to the people. It helps you, connect you with others.
Connect to the people. Yes, indeed.
People.
The people.
I like that.
Exactly. All right. You are memorable. Thanks, Fox. Aren't we all? I shall never forget you. I think this was a very good one. And I seen a shit ton of people ask for part 2, so I am not gonna guarantee anything because I still have some plans for other people to come over too, and I don't want to put Reasky on the spot right now to say if she wants it to, or not, or yes, or who knows.
I'll say I had a lot of fun here today. Your community is great. I'm happy to see some familiar faces as well. And yeah, I like having these conversations. I'm always down for talking stuff out.
Great. That's awesome. Well, if you guys want to watch this back, it's going to be on YouTube, so that's going to be awesome. Don't forget to check out ReaskyBusiness if we can get another nice little shout out and hope for a very specific clip to pop up.
Oh, gosh.
Let's go. Please, please, please. Oh.
Like Wiggles when I grow up.
It's a Wiggles clip.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Don't tell him I said that.
Told you guys not to tell him.
Clip me.
Oh my god.
That Mr.
Isn't it?
Mr. Wiggles is a cool person, and I love him so much. No one tell him. No one let me know that I'm so glad I met him, and that.
I hope you're still here, Wiggles. I hope you're still here and that you heard that. Oh, we got a double one.
Oh, is this where I kill Heidi?
You also have such a fun community. I love your interactions always. Please, everybody, go check out Reasky. She has been amazing to have as a first guest ever for this podcast. Also, one thing that I want to say is if you have a good name for this series, let me know as well. Just send me a whisper, send it on Discord or whatever. I have no idea what I want to call this yet. I still have no name for this series if I want to upload it to YouTube. So all the suggestions are welcome. What else do I say? I don't know. Oh,
Well, thank you for having me today. I had a lot of fun. I enjoy having these conversations. I really do.
one sec.
Oh.
Is this the moment I can make another joke? How did the hacker get away from the police? He ran somewhere.
Okay, it was a good one. But anyways, thank you. I only tried a little bit once, so that's good. And you didn't cry even once. The emotions weren't as high as I expected it to be.
I don't know. I'm nervous. I don't know. I'm kind of like I'm not nervous now, but I don't know. I'm a little bit more alert, you know? Maybe next time. I'll cry next time. I'll make sure I have wine next time. That'll be a mess.
Oh boy, part 2 of this conversation is gonna be with wine. Oh no.
But thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that you're starting this series. I think it's not only like helpful to other people, but to you, and it's like a nice switch up. You know, I think sometimes we do distract a lot on Twitch. We like distract ourselves with just like gameplay, and we don't get into the heavy stuff. And I think talking about it's great. So thank you for having me. I feel honored.
That's the goal. That's the goal. That's great.
So that's it. That was the first episode of Mindbooming. I really hope you guys liked it. Like I said in the intro, if you did, please be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments what you liked, or if there's anything that you would like to see differently in the next episode, or if you still have any questions for me or Reasky about the subject. I really loved it. You definitely probably noticed that, like, in the end, we were both like kind of like socially drained because, you know, talking for hours on end about a subject as heavy as this is like, it's like training your muscles, you know? It's like working out. At some point, your brain kind of gets sore, you know? It's like, I can't really focus on the subjects anymore. But it was a super nice thing to do. And even though I was a bit tired in the end, I still enjoyed it. Like, the fact that I was tired didn't change any of that. So I really had a good time recording this or streaming this. I know there were like some little small things that definitely could still improve, and don't worry, we already wrote a lot down. Like, for example, in next episode, we are including chat in the screen, so you guys on YouTube can also see what people were saying on Twitch. But, you know, this is a starting series, so you can expect like a little bit of, you know, some small things to not be perfect yet, but we're definitely working on it. Next episode, we're gonna have a lot of improvements already, but you're also gonna see that there's still a lot of things that need improving. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell if you want to know when the next episode is going live. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate your support, and like we always say, You're always welcome here, guys. Bye bye, kisses. Bye bye.